Alright, good evening everybody. Let's take a quick second and make sure I'm properly live. I believe I am. There we go. Alright. So, we are back to Cultist Simulator. For those of you wondering where it was last week, there is a video game collective in Ottawa called Dirty Rectangles. And I do try to stop by. It's normally the third week of every... It's the third Wednesday of every month. And basically, the most important factor of them is... I mean, so one, it's nice to keep in touch. The funny thing is I actually think I'm slightly better at getting in touch with people who make games rather than people who stream games. I've found there are some people, like, in terms of people who I've met, Alex the Rambler is an example of somebody who I've met in person and I've kept fairly consistent ties with. But a lot of these tend to be sort of online connections, people like Johnny Big Time, for instance, or Eyes of Sin. And, you know, I get along well enough with them, but in terms of people that I've met in person, a lot of them tend to be game developers, whether they are in Vancouver or in Ottawa now. And one of the reasons why Dirty Rectangles is particularly important with regards to this game is that it was how I found out about a place called the Capital Gaming Hub, which was ultimately the place that let me have sort of that backup plan for the interview stream that was on GOG. So it's one of these things, there's lots of different ways that you can motivate it. One thing is that obviously whenever you stream games, what's on display is your personality, you know, your person, the things that you care about, or some insights that you've gained through your time on Earth, let's say. And I think it's important to cultivate those. I mean, especially in my case, because this is just a hobby, right? And I think there are very few people who can say, you know, they've foregone everything in order to pursue that hobby. And probably shouldn't be. Hello, Freighter5, good to see you. But it had a very direct effect on the stream in the sense that I was able to do a broadcast that I otherwise would not have been able to do. So it's not the reason why someone should do something like that. You should do it because it's cool to meet your peers and it's, you know, it's fun to hang out with people. But with that in mind, you know, taking the time to do stuff like that has, you know, if nothing else, it just has unusual and delightful ways that it winds up affecting your life. Hello, Just the Tip. It has, you know, just interesting sort of side effects. And so, in addition to the fact that it's a fun group to hang out with, it's one that I want to continue going on to. But unfortunately, that does result in a conflict with Cultist Simulator. So I made up for it by doing a stream on GOG. It was more new player friendly rather than a tutorial. But if you are interested in that, I did my very first detective playthrough, and we are going to be carrying on with the surgeon, or a doctor at least, playthrough that we started a couple of weeks ago. That is, yes, it's exactly the same one, Just the Tip. So this will be all brand new stuff. I just finished covering that last week. There was no continuation because I was at a video game collective in Ottawa. But we'll jump straight into it. I didn't want to spend too much time kind of on the start. So we've got a few things going on here. We have founded our cult, so we've decided to dedicate ourselves to the pursuit of power. We founded the Unflinching Order. We have a temporary headquarters. So we've got our cult underway, and of course we've got a pawn, the first individual that we met. And in terms of verbs, we're growing our numbers. I'm adding to my library. I haven't used Dream yet. I'll make a decision in terms of what I want to do about that in just a moment. Looks like we're boosting up our passion, and I'm gonna keep generating money. So let's think a little bit about what my next couple of moves are going to be. So I mean, obviously, you know, the main goal, of course, is to to win, to advance this, but I don't necessarily think the right approach will be for me to just plow ahead and upgrade this thing as quickly as I can. I should probably deal with my immediate concerns, particularly this bleak thoughts. Looks like we don't have despair though, so what is the... Okay, the season of suspicion is coming up. We don't have... I don't believe we have a rival yet, but the mystique will be potentially a problem. So I can try going through the wood, although I don't think... Well, I guess... No, though I don't think the Watchman's Secret's going to be enough to get us ahead. My contentment will take care of any despair as it comes up. I can explore the streets. Well, I mean, I have a few things I can do. There's no shortage of activities, that's for sure. So I think let's I'll start going through the wood, although obviously I'm going to need to wait to get my passion back. There's really no shortage of things that I can do with in terms of books and that, but I'm okay for fun, so it'd be nice to exhaust Moorlands if I can. Now I pass through the scar-barked trees. The moon passes behind branches, though her fingers remain in my hair. I am stumbling over roots now. It is tempting to drop to all fours to avoid the low branches. Pale wings move deep in the night. And we've gained an acquaintance. My furtive truth back, more mystique, which if we do wind up getting a hunter, that'll potentially cause me a little bit of grief. But we found Tristan. Tristan dislikes distractions. Tristan gets things done. You might be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. I think in this case, I'm going to recruit people right away. I know I sometimes have a bit of a queue, but I think I should be focusing a little bit more on getting these things taken care of. I also forgot to get myself some commissions from at least Dr. Adim. I know Poppy's going to want me to make the deal, but I'm not quite ready to do that yet. Fader 5, this seems like a good stream to watch, even though it isn't on point with the mood that you're trying to immerse yourself in. What mood are you trying to immerse yourself in, Fader 5? All right, more poetry, which I'm not too excited about, but you can never really go wrong with anything that'll improve your abilities. So, all right. Well, we knew that was coming. Fleeting memory gives me moth and secret histories. The city is rife with journalists and detectives and other meddlers. How long? Well, anyways, someone is meddling, so. The ceremony requires a searing, but only a little one. But the ceremony requires a searing, only a little one, but they will carry the mark all their life. And so we have inducted Tristan, who is Forge, good news. And I think we'll continue on by blabbing about secrets. So talking publicly about the invisible arts will attract attention. Perhaps that is what I want. And I've gained additional passion, which will be particularly useful to me. So the question now is, do I want to try and upgrade my reason or my passion, which is a little bit difficult to argue for right now because I already have a fair amount of it, or do I want to pursue these books? And I think in this case we'll do The Locksmith's Dream, A Light Through the Keyhole, the first volume of Teresa Gallmer's examination in the parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. Blaster 1, how are you doing? It's great to see you. Thank you very much for stopping by. Have you seen Cultist Simulator before? I don't recall if you have. And how are you doing, Docs Gaming? I'm the doctor, or the physician, Dr. Hobbs. Fader 5 is going to be running a game of The Sprawl tomorrow, so you're trying to soak in as much cyberpunk as possible. Yeah, it would definitely be a stretch to say that this is cyberpunk, but pursuing new mystery. I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting ideas that you can take away from this game to make yourself better at telling stories in game environments. So The parallels in mystic dreams experienced by carpenters, masons, and other artisans, and what they purport to reveal about the architecture of the world. Sometimes mordant, sometimes funny, no one has ever explained why Galmer devoted herself to the chaotic exploration of artisans' dreams. Am I recording for YouTube? No, not at all. Just I've only recently, I can't say never now. I only recently have started doing specific things for YouTube. So in terms of the stuff that's going on YouTube, it's all just VODs of these specific casts. And it results, I mean, I find these comments really annoying, to be totally honest. Like, the people who are clearly responding to the fact that I'm responding to things in chat. Like, the fact of the matter is my bread and butter really is Twitch. So I love interactivity. Please don't feel like you're interrupting the cast at all. I'm delineating stream in front of any broadcasts that are VODs. And it would be nice if I could include chat in the videos or something like that, but I mean, that's just what it is. It's better to have an archive than nothing. And then for specific YouTube videos, I'll just record those and edit those on my time. So anything you want to say, just the tip, feel free to speak it. So Blaster 1, just to answer, also now's a good time to do that because I'm going to be to answer what Cultist Simulator is. So Blaster 1, Cultist Simulator is a game by a company called Weather Factory. They're based in the UK. It consists of two people. Glotty Bevan, who produced and did artwork and marketing and has 1,000,001 different talents. And Alexis Kennedy, who is very well known for his writing abilities, but also does game design work and coding and whatnot. Yeah, not a problem at all, just a tip. I tend to be a really good channel for people either going to sleep or otherwise just wanting to keep something on in the background. I never keep attendance, but I always appreciate the concurrent views. So I hope you... good luck with your studies. Feel free to let us know what you're studying if you want us to know. And we'll see you whenever you want to break and want to bring things up. And then they worked with a bunch of contractors on this. But the best that I can sort of say is that this is a game where you're ostensibly you're a person going through your day-to-day life, and you've been given a glimpse at sort of some mysteries and secrets behind what's really going on in the world. And you can sort of choose how you react to do that. You can just continue to go to your job and live an ordinary life, but that's not very interesting. If you want an idea of, you know, what it's about, it's really about sort of your creativity or your passion and how you balance sort of managing a mundane existence, keeping a roof over your head, or just tending to your needs, while you're simultaneously sort of pursuing this mysterious and even potentially dangerous passion and interest that you have. And it could be, you know, everything from a book that you want to write or a movie you want to make, or you know, a game that you want to make. It is really, I think, in a lot of ways, a game sort of about creativity. And I mean, it's probably not coincidence that, you know, this is the first game by people who left you know, a successful company and are setting out to make something new. And, you know, the difference between trying to bring something new into the world, something unexpected, while also making sure that people have jobs or that there's food on the table. It's interesting. At least that's kind of where I get where some of this stuff is coming from. But basically in this game, I'm playing a physician who I'm tending to... I was treating the previous character I played who went crazy. And I'm starting to go through their papers, and I'm discovering things like this bookshop that they went to, and I'm starting to read the books, and I'm gaining these secrets and insights in terms of sort of the world beyond. I'm starting to dream and maybe see a little bit more than I was intended to. So in this case, you can sort of imagine it as playing a game where you play like the villain in a horror novel. But you don't necessarily have to be a villain. It's just the most fun way to play. So, Paint Bucket says, happen to found my YouTube channel thanks to this game. I happen to enjoy Cultist Simulator as well, and could picture the world similar to an Orwell novel. That's really interesting. I've never quite thought of it that way. But thank you for letting me know that you found me through through YouTube, or the other way around. I mean, I am primarily a Twitch streamer. But for the interest of explaining the game to Blaster 1, so the way that the game sort of tells its story, the way that the interactions work is you have verbs, these actions that you can perform, and then the cards represent different things going on inside of your life, so, or that you have access to. So for instance, I know the address to a certain bookshop, the dim premises of Miss Moreland, who deals in rare and sometimes dangerous books. And I'll put some funds towards it. It takes time to sort the gold through the dross, the wheat from the chaff, the blood from the water. If I buy enough books, I'll find something interesting. In the meantime, I'm studying a particular book called The Locksmith's Dream by somebody who had similar dreams to my own. And here is the menses, the land of dreams. So I can use this peculiar rumor, and I could potentially use, so what it says specifically here, this might lead me somewhere I need, or it might mean something else entirely. Explore with a rumor to follow up on it. Alternatively, I can sort of do a random roll, and I can maybe explore the well or the temple of the wheel and get something different. And I'm feeling a little brave, so let's see what we can find at the temple of the wheel. In this case, it was a subtle flaw. Laces uncoil, windows swing open, locks move as if oiled. A second-order influence, apparent to the perceptive, instantly recognizable to an adept. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. I'm not quite ready to do a rite yet, so we'll leave that aside. And I think we're actually just going to go back to the wood here, so I will drop this off. And we've gained the weary detective. This gentleman would rather be left alone with his pipe in the Illustrated London News. But no, apparently some conjurer of abominations has to be hunted down like a mad dog, and apparently nobody else can find the time. So the weary detective has entered my life, and this is going to be somebody who follows up on maybe some leads, or some, basically is tracing my misdeeds and will potentially be putting me in jail. So how I decide to manage this individual, you can try and kill them, you can try and reveal to them the deep secrets lying behind the world. There's lots of different things that you can try and do, but for now we're gonna sit by. So we've gained the books, The Queens and the Rivers. I'll read what the description says when I actually go to study it. And we have a minute before we're going to need more funds, so I will buy one more book from Moreland's. And what else do I want to do? I think I do want to start blabbing a little bit more about esoteric matters, but we're still running down this one. What's my white YouTube channel name? I believe it's just System Chalk, but I'll get you a link here, Blaster. That should do the trick. Oh yeah, that's my voice. Alright, I've done some good. My patients are quieter than when I began. I'm mildly curious. So when I add position at the Institute, there's no other options that sort of open up when I go in here. Now all of my other verbs have been used. I'm the premier player for the game on YouTube. That comes as a bit of a surprise, just the tip, because I always feel like I'm a very small presence on YouTube, but that's really cool that you're saying that. Thank you. There's going to be a couple of side, like, special things that come up on the channel soon. I just need to find the time to edit them down. But so one of the things that I haven't looked at yet. Yeah, that's definitely true, just the tip. I think there's probably some like people who do dedicated Let's Plays who are playing it now, and definitely they're looking at tens of thousands of views. But frankly, I'm happy. You know, I'm happy that people are finding the game through them. As long as people find it useful, I'm happy to keep doing them. But yeah, I appreciate feedback like that, because again, there's lots of stuff I can play, and Cultist Simulator has continued on specifically because people have told me that they like it. So one of the things that's always a drawback is, well, actually, you know what? I can afford to wait a little while on work, so we'll run this down. All right, time and again we hear of the wood which rises from the world's foundation. All trees reach for light. And what does the wood reach for? Is there a difference between light and light? I think the key to dreams of the wood might be one of these, the one that isn't exactly real. Sorry, let me just read that again. So, Dimskag, how are you doing? All right, let's try this again. Time and again we hear of the wood, which rises from the world's foundation. All trees reach for light. What does the wood reach for? Is there a difference between light and light? Light, capital. I think the key to dreams of the wood might be one of these, the one that isn't exactly real. I'm assuming that's basically saying, you know, dream with wood and lantern influence. And we've gained the Watchman's Secret, which is a level 2 lantern aspect. It has been expressed like this. Each hour has its color, but color exists only where there is light. What are we looking at here? Well, the exploration will be done in about 3 seconds. So as much as I hate to sort of waste cycles, I'm actually going to just zero this all out so I can see if any other possibilities come up with the position at the Institute. I've got Apollo and Marsyas. It's wonderful that all of these books are in English. I do have Latin, so I could get one of those as well, but I need to be a little more careful. Oh, damn it. I was meaning to explore with the position. All right. So unless I can do something with dream. All right, we're back in the mantis. I don't really need the buzzing in the brain, so this time we'll go to the well. And we gain some vitality. Exercise, or something rarer, has invigorated me. Vitality can be used with study to gain health. This lasts only 3 minutes if used. The well in the wood is sacred to the Grail, the hour that hungers, and to the velvet, the hour that guards secrets. Tonight, as I approached, it heaved with the velvet's moss, struggling waves in deep, vibrant green, pulsing again and again from its throat. It surged around my calves, rose to my thighs, and this morning I can still feel velvet's breath strong within me. So if there's anything else that I can do with the position at the Institute, it would be exploration or talking. But in this case, it just sort of seems that I continue to cycle through work. So there's a dank and clinging smell to the Institute halls that never quite leaves one. Perhaps it's the paint. Perhaps it's the patience. Perhaps it's something in the walls. Let's read the Victory of Crowns. Erratic accounts by one Arun of the hunting and consumption of supposed immortals by shadowy cults of assassins, published in the late 19th century. The assassins are, according to Arun, the agents of a power called the Coronal, a soldier of the secret masters. The accounts go all the way back to Roman times. And while we're at it, if I have enough passion, I can walk the dream road to the wood. If I have the right knowledge, I might be able to find the way beyond it. So, for instance here, light in the wood, not enough. There is a house in the wood, this much I know. There is a light through the trees. So, I believe I could use knock as well, but in this case, we don't quite have enough power to be able to continue on our way up, so I will just simply use passion and explore my dreams for a little while. Hello, Johnny Big Time! It's very good to see you again. Victory of Crowns? I was wondering if it might be another, might be a reference to another, like a book series. Alright, there's actually a fairly healthy number of people in the channel right now, so I feel justified in talking about how awesome Johnny Big Time is. Would you guys like to hear about how awesome Johnny Big Time is? Alright, Deoris, in Latin, a 19th century reprint of a 14th century Latin translation by a 4th century work. I think I'm going to hold, well, I don't even have the money available, so I am going to hold off on the book trips for now, but because I have people, I can send a pawn off to search the city. Crowded thoroughfares by day, a fog-wrapped labyrinth by night. I'll send my minions out searching for opportunities. Well, I appreciate you hanging out for the time that you did, Demskag. It's nice. I mean, I never take it for granted that people are going to hang out, but it's really nice when people take a minute to say, an overlooked place I might have found somewhere unusual. I like it when people take a minute to say hi and just say that they're watching. It's, you know, it's even just basically the acknowledgement that somebody's thinking about you is always nice. Because I think that one of the big things about streaming is that, like, I like to think that people are here to watch my stuff, not to not to come and entertain me. So one nice feature of that is if you know, if like I never feel like I should expect people to participate in chat because it, you know, like that's not really the job description. But it is really nice when people do participate, just because it gives me a chance to sort of interact and get to know people, which is a lot of fun. So, oh, thank you very much, Blaster One. There will be an interview with the people who made this game coming up on there fairly soon. So, streets are strange in the hour called Menescate. You find the game similar to an Orwell novel in that it's set in Britain with the whole aspect of hunters trying to suppress cults as they work for the Suppression Bureau, which is basically just your overactive imagination. Well, I mean, the thing that I love the most about Cultist Simulator is that you can really take it, like it's wide open to, I don't even necessarily want to say interpretation, but basically you can make of it what you will. So especially from my earlier casts when I was talking about The Aspirant, like I relate a lot to having this big stack of books, because that I have, you know, in my, you know, I have that in my apartment. And this idea of, you know, gaining all of these little fragments of knowledge and trying to piece together something bigger out of it is one that I relate to a lot, because of course, I mean, I went to grad school and now I'm working in my field, but the biggest thing is, like, if you're doing an empirical project, say, like nobody, you know, if you're doing a project that's worth doing, nobody's going to have, you know, the 4 Dummies book of your, you know, your thesis or something like that. Like you need to take the fragments, but you also need to push it forward, and you need to add your own, experience or your own knowledge to the, you know, to the task. And the big thing about the game, of course, is it doesn't tell you what things you should or shouldn't be doing. You need to piece it together. You need to read what's happening, and you need to get ideas. And the game works its logic on you. You start, you know, getting intuitions, and you start going further along. But the biggest thing is that I know that, you know, most of the people who play this game are probably not going to have the fairly recent experience of having gone through an advanced degree and trying to do original research to draw on. So I quite like the Aspirant story because it's one I relate to very heavily. But that doesn't mean that mine, you know, my take is right or wrong. It's just how I experience that story. So likewise, if you see something in Orwell that really speaks to you, then that's a really useful lens to go through. I mean, the whole point of this thing is that you're always given just these little tantalizing glimpses into a world that's bigger and much more interesting than what things look like on face value. So I would suggest that this is a game very much for people who have overactive imaginations. So how late am I planning on streaming? You've been hoping to catch one of my streams for a couple of weeks. Well, I'll probably be going until about 10. I try to do 3 hours each cast, so that seems like a realistic goal. So probably at least another 2.5 hours for now. And if you're curious, I usually do stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, somewhere between 7 or 8 to 10 or 11. Of course, Wednesdays are my dedicated Cultist Simulator days. So, but yeah, as long as you're coming by within the next couple of hours, we should still be playing. All right, let's add our hanger on into the unflinching order. I did say I was gonna focus on that. This one is ready. I try to stay as close to my commitments as I can. Obviously, you know, it is a hobby, so I don't consider myself like morally obligated to always be exactly 3 hours each time, but I do try to be pretty consistent in terms of start times and the length and whatnot. And at the very least, I'll announce on Twitter when stuff doesn't go according to plan. All right, at the well, we found vitality again. The well in the wood is sacred to the Grail, the hour that hungers into the velvet, the hour that guards secrets. Tonight as I approached it heaved the velvet's moth, struggling waves of deep and vibrant green pulsing again and again from its throat. It surged around my calves, rose to my thighs, and this morning I still feel velvet's breath strong within me. I was going to talk about Johnny Big Time too, so... Alright, sounds good, Demskag. I hope you have a good time. Alright, Victory of Crowns by Arun. Arun's scholarship is dubious, but she rates pithily. Incidents of sudden and violent death are interspersed with aphorisms. Ours don't dream. Long try not to. And we've gained the knife's secret. When our ancestors forged swords, taught arts of martial movement, spoke curses on the eve of battle, all these things shared certain patterns. Use this in a rite with a corpse and winter power, and the corpse will rise. You've seen the beginning 2 hours of the game a million times now. That's totally fair. So let me talk a little bit about Johnny Big Time while I'm arranging my cards. Obviously, if you guys have any questions about what's going on, feel free to speak up. I'm going to leave Dream open because I'm going to have to recover from my illness. And let's read The Queens and the Rivers, a surreal contemporary play by the enigmatic Monica Medina, in which the Queens of the Rivers are murdered one by one. And I still don't remember how to pronounce these names, or know how to pronounce these names. So the Queen of Vistula is poisoned, the Queen of the Napier chokes on a fishhook, and the Queen of the Tagus is burnt alive. So, Johnny Big Time. Why is he a streamer worth watching? Johnny is one of the, actually I'd like to say, is one of the most consistent people who has been watching this cast. And for a while, I was feeling a little sorry for myself in not having someone to play games with. I used to have somebody, and then they kind of just went away. But one of the things that's really cool about Johnny is that he's really open-minded in terms of the games that he plays. And even, I know I have all my work ahead of me to convince him to play Cultist Simulator. But he has been one of the most consistent people to watch Cultist Simulator. And I think one of the things that I like the most about him is that every game that he plays, he will find why it's fun. He will find a way to present it in that light to people. So again, it's that experience of watching somebody just have the time of their life with the game that they're playing, sort of like sitting on the couch watching them. He's got a great charisma. He's really got an ability to, to relate to the audience, and always has that. He always has something clever or funny to say. And again, just a guy with a very clear passion for gaming. It's one of these things where if I were to have a game and I wanted to try and like reach out to a new audience, I would absolutely show it to Johnny, and I'd actually specifically highlight him on the channel because I think he is one of the people who is really good at connecting a game with its potential audience. It doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to shill for every game that he's playing, but it definitely means that he is able to just communicate that passion in a way that very few casters are able to. I'm going to sneeze at some point, but I will do my best not to blast it into the microphone. So he has been working a lot lately, and that's a shame for us because he is a really gifted entertainer. But pretty much if you just like watching streams, Johnny is somebody you really need to check out because he doesn't do bad casts. He can make Fortnite interesting to me, which is saying something, and we have personally played everything from Spy Party, which I feel like we need to jump back into again, to Dying Light, XCOM. Oh wait, he's played XCOM. We haven't played together yet, but we have played Chaos Reborn. Just a guy who will play anything and does a damn good job of it every single time. So I actually don't have a mod, so bam, there's Johnny. Please do check him out. He's a really great guy and a huge supporter of this cast. Right, visions pass over me with pavane grace, a window over wood, a garden of ice, a shivering sun, a woman of glass. I will return home reluctantly. We'll continue to explore the streets. I know that was a little rushed, Johnny, but I gotta do the not so good ones every once in a while just so we can have the special moments of the special accounts. All right. I have got myself a Forge pawn, I believe. Recruit an acquaintance by invoking Forge. The ceremony requires a searing, only a little one, but they will carry the mark all their life. And I guess the question is, do I want to run the risk of generating more mystique? I'm thinking yes, the trade-off is worth it. But before I do that, let's have a chat with Dr. Adim about a commission. The doctor would like help with his research, and Sickness has ravaged my body, so we can take that to dream right away, and I've got these vitality from exploring the menses, so we'll just chuck that in there, and all I need now is time. Dr. Adim would like a substantial commission on Lantern, so that's got to move up to level 4. I do potentially have the means of obtaining that, because I do have 2 Watchman's Secrets I can study, but I'm currently using that to study the Queens of the Rivers. So in the meantime, we'll take our Furtive Truth and see if we can find somebody else. Obviously, that will pique up my mystique, but I want to try and avoid playing as conservatively as I have in the past, so let's go back to exploration. Everything we find here isn't necessarily good, but in this case I wanna try my luck a few times because I'm in a fairly decent place. I've got vitality, erudition, I've got a good stock of passion and such. I should be able to get through most difficulties. The culprit, it transpires, is the audience. The surviving queens are directed to execute whatever audience members do not escape. The surprisingly lucid epilogue suggests that the correspondence of river names with historical events does provide clues to secret histories behind our own, and so we've gained another occult scrap. So the question now is, what do I want to do with my study? We'll go back to work. So the question is, do I want to do a pair of Watchman's Secrets and hope that the erudition is the only special one that I need, or do I want to continue digesting my library? I think probably more scraps is better at this point, and I will I can go back to upgrading my lore once I'm out of books to get. So in the original myth, Marsyas lost a musical contest and was flayed by Apollo, who later regretted it. In this version, Marsyas' skin has a further history. I didn't read the book though. The libretto of a lost opera concerning the contest between Apollo and Marsyas, its tragic outcome. The librettist is identified only by their initials RK NJL. Once I've healed, I will continue to go down the wood. This is just because it's a nice little source of more things. So fascination leaks through the cracks. My mind is brighter than it ever was. The higher I rise, the more I see. Now, fascination's pretty dangerous, but there are ways of dealing with it. The sick room grows close and stale. Time to get up. Mildly curious. Yeah, I definitely need the dread. Alright, we've got another acquaintance coming up. We got a glimmering. Visions pass me with pavane grace, a window over wood, a garden over ice, shivering sun, and a woman of glass. I will return home reluctantly. Right, more money. We'll just keep running that as much as we can. The skin of Marsyas gives oracles and is later smuggled to Phigria, where the priestesses of Sibyl use it for drumhead. At the opera's climax, the pounding of the drum drives would-be violators of the priestess to suicidal madness. The opera ends with a wistful hymn from the youngest priestesses on the beauty of the mountain pines. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning, so Phigrian, which I believe was the language that Greek is derived from, at least the Greek letters, I don't believe you can learn that language from a book. So it's possible that if we read into some of the description of Apollo and Marsyas, there might be a clue in terms of what's going on. The only thing that I can really note of is smuggled to Phigria, where the priestesses of Sibyl use it for a drumhead. And in this case, that would sort of imply a connection with the aspect heart. Now, that's a pretty tenuous connection. I'm not going to say it's, you know, it's maybe not the... It's not the best that I've got, but these are the sorts of hunches that I like to go down onto. Because like the biggest problem that you can run into in this game is that if you just reduce a lot of the solutions into okay, well, I'm going to just try every possible combination that I can, you tend to get pretty frustrated, and there's just so much stuff that comes up in the game that you're probably not going to make a lot of progress. So one of the things that I try and do is... I'm going to run out of space for my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, just enough. You know, one of the things that I try and do is, even if it's a completely, like, lame attempt, it's at least something to go on. And eventually, as you kind of go through the game, you start feeling a little bit better. So I don't feel particularly strongly about what I perceive to be a hint inside there, but there might be some things that come up later in the game where I'm like, ah, wait, I think I remember what was going on here. So anyways, we gained a thunderous secret. So as it turns out, you know, the association with heart was appropriate. So there are common sentiments in every thunderclap. Let us acknowledge them. The heart relentless beats to protect the skin of the world that we understand. The heart is the principle that continues and preserves. Back to my study. So I can read Traveling at Night, or I can start translating books. And I think, again, I want to... So I have one of each lore except for Winter. I don't think Traveling at Night gives that to me, but I might as well get my remaining English books out of the way. So the annotated dream journals of Christopher Elopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering. This is the second volume. The other thing I can do is take advantage of this glimmering and get rid of that last collection of poetry. So actually I think I'm going to study my passion, and I'll read sentimental literature, and then I can get that other study done. I don't know if there's really any optimal way of working through it, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and avoid having a big stack of poetry and essays. Where I can, I'll take advantage of it. Now I pass through the scar-barked trees. The moon passes behind the branches, though her fingers remain in my hair. I am stumbling over roots now. It is tempting to drop to all fours to avoid the low branches. Pale wings move deep in the night. Thank you so much, Paint Bucket. As always, it'll be on YouTube when I can manage it. Sometimes there's a staggering of about a week. I'm not 100% sure if I can talk about all the reasons behind that, but I will definitely. I'm past the point of forgetting to upload things before they go away. So I hope you have a good sleep. Thank you very much for your kind words, and we'll see you the next time that you stop by. I do have some worldly resources, so let's take another trip to Moorlands. Of course, it's just my luck that I get the extra glimmering around the time that I dedicate the study block towards glimmering there, but there you have it. And we gained a violet. Okay, so I can get another occult scrap. I think I'll go for that, actually, so... I walked the wood last night, and the scissors worked in the distance, and furred things crammed my mouth and swarmed my ears. I felt an old urge to drop to wolf fours and nose among the roots, but I remembered that I walk upright by day, and I know that fire and steel and words. At last I found where the velvet had concealed a secret on tree bark beneath moss. I read it, and then with the tips of my fingers. I read it then with the tips of my fingers, and I think now that I could write it in full. So I should eventually start exploring these occult scraps, but let's actually can't... Oh, I can't use my passion. I just need to get Violet out of here, so... Where'd my passion go? Did I just lose my passion? Oh, no, there it is. So yeah, we'll go down the way of the wood again. Well, I've already got my vivid imagination to, I would need 4 for that, and I already have a collection of poetry, so I tend to like to, especially given the fact that my passion winds up getting locked up in things like getting additional followers and that, I would want to take my passion and use it to, I'd kind of like to have a little bit more of a kind of a stack of it, because of course if I do study, and I want to recruit someone, all of a sudden I wake up and realize that I'm not able to achieve my goals. So at the moment I'm just going to take the glimmering and take advantage of the collection of poetry. I mean, obviously I am going to get the third one, but it's not I'm not sure if upgrading the Vivid and Imagination is enough for me to merit the use of the study. There'll be more opportunities for me to get more glimmering in the future, I think. I've dreamed of the forge, and I long for the heat of her flames. It is almost time to perform the work and begin the changes, but I must have enough forge aspect. Exploration might find more. That's interesting. Exploring with dedication power? I never even thought of that. I'll try it when exploration becomes available. What I'm going to do with this restlessness is I'll let it tick down. There's actually, so here's a sneaky thing that you can do. Unflinching order. Now normally I'll take the Ardent Orison and bring them in, right? The important thing to remember is that you don't have to use that. All that you need is the forge aspect, and so if I wanted, I could use my restlessness to induct them. But in this case, I have other uses for that restlessness. So we'll do a ceremony with the lore of the forge. Alright, and for our trouble we got more poetry, so sometimes frustrating to have that until you have a nice big stack of... Oh, I said I was going to explore with my dedication. I'll get that next time. Alright, back to the Institute. I've got my surplus glimmering now. So I'm going to use the glimmering that's oldest first, and we'll just we'll get a quick little upgrade of our passion. Alright, the ceremony requires searing, only a little one, but they'll carry the mark all their life. Violet a believer. Violet likes to paint. She has a gift, although she's always been very modest about it. She never puts human figures in her paintings. There are enough people in the world. Winter is the one thing we don't have the lore of yet. But, so in terms of talking, let's just take a look at our possibilities here. I think I'm just gonna stick. I'm gonna stick to my knitting and continue to blab about esoteric matters. And again, this may turn into additional mystique that gets used against me. But as long as it's not notoriety, I'll be fine. This morning, there's a spring in my step. I'm not sure why. And Season of Suspicion is coming up again, so... Alright, I found something noteworthy. The Humors of a Gentleman. Samuel Savage's satirical comedy on the intrigues of the ailing but cunning Johnson, his mistress Mavelyn, her lover Leo, and the upstart Corvino. And I should have enough to buy myself another book, so we'll try and buy out Morelands as quickly as we can. Ah, but I said... Okay, I'm gonna put that power right there. Okay, I can gain the buzzing in the brain, but let's visit the Temple of the Wheel, Subtle Claw, and last night I came in the wood to the high jagged rock called the Temple of the Wheel. Its flank, patched with black lichen and eye signs, opened like a mouth beneath my hands. But I walked in the whispering space within. The gods who were stone, the first of the hours, were almost gone now, but here their voices remain, Wheel, Flint, Tide, and others without names. So here's a question for you, Johnny. What will it take to get me to get you to play Cultist Simulator? So here I'm going to seek composure. The doors of vision swing wide. A little darkness may mellow my light. Even dread has its uses. I know I ask you this each time, but I'm going to continue my sustained campaign of psychological warfare. I mean, I know you're playing Cookie Clicker now, so we're closer. If you had to play Universal Paperclips or Cultist Simulator. Alright. I am more than I was. So we now have 4 passion. We've got a big stack of money. And we found the 6 letters on necessity, warnings and confessions about the cost of the invisible arts, addressed to the student by a 17th century magus and reputed immortal, Julian Costley. Let's see what this business about dedication... Okay, so I can't directly explore with Alright, it could be a reference in terms of gaining just additional additional artifacts and whatnot, but in this case I'm just going to keep adding to the library. And study-wise, let's read The Humors of a Gentleman. By the end of the first act, Mavelyn has revealed a secret door into the woods of the house to Leo, and Corvino is taken to consuming words. Do you happen to have a favorite genre of game? Personally, you happen to enjoy RPGs for recently. Recently you bought Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines in the GOG sale. I think, casting-wise, I'm best known for my strategy stuff. The real question is, why would anyone not want to play Cultist Simulator? Well, I mean, as we all know, it is a Marmite game. It's one that people feel very strongly about one way or the other, but I'm on your side, Carcosa Black. I definitely think that Cultist Simulator is a game that most people should experience. But to answer Paint Bucket's question, I'm safe for now. My adversary has not enough evidence to bring a case against me, and they've found no new clues. I'm probably better known for my strategy stuff, and part of that's just because it's something that I can, you know, I can talk a lot over the game and it makes sense. Also, there is a little bit of a hunger for people to learn those kinds of games through video content rather than like reading a manual. So like Dominions is an interesting game, but it asks a lot of you to read, you know, a 200, 300 page manual to do so. And like, I loved that fact about Alpha Centauri, although you didn't need to do that to appreciate Alpha Centauri. But I do tend to find I also gravitate a lot to strategy games. But I'll be honest, like, I like playing Battlefield a lot. And I do enjoy RPGs, although I do find that I need to be in the right mood for them. So Pillars of Eternity's kind of bounced off me, but I really like the game Tyranny. And I haven't played Bloodlines yet. I actually played the original Vampire the Masquerade game. But yeah, I really do value variety, though. I'm not sure that the best way to classify the kinds of games I'm interested in would necessarily be by genre, so much as I think games that have a neat spin on something that I take for granted. So like, you know, Cultist Simulator, you can definitely say, you can say it's a card game, you can say it's an idle game, you can say it's an RPG. Some people have called it a strategy game, and these are all right to a certain degree, and yet I would never say to someone who likes Baldur's Gate, oh, you absolutely need to play Cultist Simulator, other than the way that I would normally say that to someone. But I do still really like a good strategy game. Composure. The air is curdled now. I am home again in this lumpen flesh. Better, perhaps. Alright, so the season of despair is upon me, but I have 3 seconds left on contentment, so let's dream about that dread. I remember I was different before. We'll neutralize that problem. And we'll see if we found... I think I'm just gonna get the weird... Yeah. Well, let's visit to strange places by moonlight again and hope to God that I don't get dread. I should probably be chatting a bit more about, oh, well, I already am, but... The play is scabrous and occasionally hilarious. The characters are contrary and capricious. Many of the more resonance lines might well be formula of power disguised in plain sight. And we've got our third Watchman's Secret, so I really should be burning these up in my study. But we have more lore we can get, so 6 letters on necessity. Costley's tone is urgent, as if he suspected he may have little time left. And for my trouble, I've gained Moth. Porter! Come with me. Where are you, Porter? Porter was a barber until a court case. You might be able to recruit this acquaintance. That's why I got Moth. In 24 seconds, I'm gonna get something that I can recruit that guy with. Let's go back to Moorlands for some more books. Alright, so there's my restlessness. Now that's potentially going to cause me a problem with regards to bleak thoughts, and I don't have an easy way of addressing that. So what we'll do here is we will induct Porter into the unflinching order, and in this case the trappings will be my restlessness. And as far as Dream goes, just a good old-fashioned journey to the woods. I'm sure at some point I probably could have just boosted my my passion, but I don't know. There's other things I can do, so... Even the sun can be divided, though it require the Forge of Days for its division. And we gained a Smith's Secret. In 5 continents, smiths have whispered the same words to the iron. Murderers have been known to whisper these words too, and adepts, of course. These words are spoken in ritual to inspire an unmerciful change. When we watch a fire, what are we watching for? When we find it, these are the words it will speak. A word that sanctifies the change that comes with when the seared skin peels. Porter plies his razor and his scissors to the great advantage of his friends. Oh yeah, I'm definitely not going to have... Okay, we're going to take a minute here and do a little bit of housekeeping, so... I think I messed up. I'm still getting used to the new sort of locking mechanism, but it'll definitely help with OCD, so... I actually had an idea for... I'm gonna do this run at some point, everyone's gonna hate me, but it's gonna be an OCD run where I never move the cards other than to play them. Everything has to sit on the table where it landed. And everyone will hate me. Okay, this will be my winter slot. This will be my moth slot. Let's find a better place for these books. Ideally, they should actually be close to the study, but I don't want to think too hard. That'll do. And we gained on What is Contained by Silver by Pomander. Now we don't have Greek, so we're not actually able to read that one, but I do have $3, so we'll pick that up. Damn it. You can do it. I believe in you. There we go. And let's chat about Furtive Truths so that we can get additional followers. Oh, and as far as studying is concerned, let's read Traveling at Night. There's an extensive discussion on the similarities between the annotated dream journals of Christopher Allopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist. Literate, entertaining, bewildering, this is the 2nd volume. There is an extensive discussion of the similarities between Allopoli's own dreams and those of Emperor Elgabalus, who Allopoli regards as a dupe or avatar of the sun in rags. The white is west of the world, Allopoli remarks, and winter does not wait forever. Alright, so I'm going to have more restlessness to deal with in a little bit. And it looks like I'm going to have to go on a bit of a translation run. You find a lot of his grand strategy games like Hearts of Iron and Stellaris daunting. You'd probably enjoy them if you actually got into them, however. You just get overwhelmed by them. I mean, this is obviously talking up my own book, but if you want, I play Stellaris pretty regularly on Monday. I usually play a Paradox game, but I've been hitting Stellaris pretty hard lately. And if you ever do find those games quite overwhelming, I think a few people can tell you that I've done what I can to make the game a little bit more approachable and give some heuristics in terms of how you can pick them up. So if it is something that you wanted to pick up, obviously it's fun to have you in chat. So if you'd like, we might be able to get you to a little bit more confidence in those kinds of games. I think I'll go for the other occult scrap. It's not always the most exciting option, and I think we've read, yeah, I've read all that before, so back to the woods with me. And as far as purchases, we've gained the Locksmith's Dream, Portions and Proportions, the second volume of Teresa Gallagher's examination of the parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. The frontispiece has been slashed with a razor. So I will... oh, nope, no money. Alright, so we've gained Traveling at Night, another erudition, which means I can use this collection of essays. Elgabalus found his way to the White Door at last. Thankfully, speech can't pass the White Door. And honestly, Elgabalus never had anything very interesting to say. I tried to follow in his footsteps, but I never learnt enough of the White. I suppose I'm thankful for that too. But here's what I do know. So, there's something we can actually pull out of this. We'll keep that White Door in mind. We've gained the Sexton's Secret, so certain knowledge, it is said, can be expressed only through a particular quality of silence, and it's been suggested that one can only read such knowledge with one's eyes closed, but only by mischievous commentators. Hello, Benskull, how are you doing? Alright, so I've got restlessness to contend with. There's going to be a slightly different way that I deal with it this time. So we're going to take a break from the institution, and... this isn't necessarily the best way to do it, but in this case, paint. I used to paint. I could paint those sights I half remember from my dreams. I might sell something. I probably won't. And in my study, let's keep reading Gallagher's books. In this volume, Gallagher records fewer dreams and explicates more on her own elaborate theories. We can see again and again, what is below can't escape what is above. Of the Twitter god. That's very high praise. Thank you. All right, let's start researching some of these occult scraps, just so I can get a little stack for exploration when the time comes. Actually, I should say, I know I have a very small number of people who are into stats. Did anybody see the tweet that I put out about the stats thing I'm working on? It's not exactly a trick, but it does have... oh, I'm an idiot. I shouldn't read the Locksmith's Dream, I should improve my erudition, but fortunately I have that. You should see the shrine you have. Is it an aspect 20 lantern? I can dig that. Alright, let's go to the well. An awareness of appetite. The well in the wood is never dry, but it is never clear. One night it might heave with crawling roots, on another will pulse with bright moss. On nights of the full moon its waters are choked with the few dappled bodies of moths. Last night I saw it brimming with dark and viscous blood. Gelatinous shreds drift on its surface. Clots of grail matter. Every sense is heightened, every sensation deepened, a second-order influence apparent to the perceptive, instantly recognizable to an adept. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. Oh, I was meaning to show you something in the menses, but I'll get it next time. And we're going to be getting more restlessness in a minute. I'm mildly curious in terms of how this painting is going to turn out. And we gained Rose. So I'm going to hold off on Rose for a minute. I finished a painting, to the excitement of absolutely no one but me. Sometimes painting will gain you glimmerings, study them to unlock more advanced painting options. That was one thing that was never clear to me. The advanced painting options seem to come from upgrading vivid imagination, but... And with Locksmith's Dream, the finest artisans all dream of the White Door in the end. I'm no artisan, only a scholar. I think there's a secret that all these artisans know, but I think that secret is only half the story. Sooner or later, every locksmith has the dream. Now we recite it 7 phrases. Nearly every summoning rite requires knock influence. This lore will provide it. Yeah, so in this case we've actually gotten a couple of stories that talk about accessing the White Door. So in this case, this one says knock, the other one says winter. And I'll try and parse that out for you in a minute. Yeah. Okay, I think I want to go back to work, because I'm going to run out of money soon. So I think exploration is the only thing I didn't check with the position at the Institute, so we'll carry on that way. The world as it is. Mirrors are calm, the sun... Ooh, I've got a creepy crawly in the room. The sun is steady, the glory recedes. I am sane, if that means anything. No fascination drives your visions, it's over for now. Okay. So got some glimmering to work with. Passion. I'm gonna hold off on talk. But study, we'll take this collection of essays and we will use up some of our expiring erudition. This place merits closer investigation. This is Strathcoin's residence. We'll do this again with another occult scrap. Alright. I've dreamed of the forge, and it is long, and I long for the heat of her flames. It is almost time to form the work and begin the changes. I must have enough forge aspect. Exploration might find more. So, because I don't really want to deal with this restlessness right now, and we have the Season of Despair coming up, the easiest way for me to get rid of this is to induct Rose, who is a Slimus, recognizes me as someone uncommon. We will brand her with restlessness, and we will add another follower to the cult. Alright. So, notice here, we're in the menses, but right now we've just been limited to the wood. And then there's the White Door, the Stag Door, the Peacock Door, the Spider Door, and the Triskepit Gate. Unless that's... I believe that's a separate... Actually, no, I think that comes from the Peacock Door now that I think of it. Anyways, one way or the other. So the question to us is, how do we get through the White Door? And the books have been giving us these indications in terms of what's... of some possibilities in terms of what we might be doing. The problem, of course, is I haven't been upgrading any of my lore, so I'm not quite able to go through it. But as you can sort of see, if you just float through the game and don't really pay attention to what's going on, then you're not really going to have, you're going to get frustrated and you're going to wind up feeling like the game's being unfair, or it's being deliberately difficult. And it's definitely being unclear, because as we, the analogy I always draw is, if you're doing something worthwhile, if you are studying something, chances are it's because nobody has, at the very least, if somebody else has studied it, they have not expressed it as clearly as you can. And so you need to bring something of yourself to the question. And that's kind of how I like looking at Cultist Simulator, is that in the end, I'm, I can get the glimpse, but I need to make the inference that takes me to that next level. So the most obvious one would be that work that talked about the white being the way to the White Door. But of course, Gallagher's work also implies that knock is a way that I can access it. So there's multiple ways that we can try it, but we'll mostly see it depending on what aspects I upgrade. In the meantime, let's visit the Temple of the Wheel, and we've got another subtle flaw. Have I read this one yet? If I have, I'll just run back in. So, oh, I don't think I have. So, last night I came to the wood in the high-jacked rock called the Temple of the Wheel. Its flank, perched with black lichen and eye signs, opened like a mouth beneath my hands, and I walked in the whispering space within. The gods who were stone, the first of the hours, are almost all gone now, but their voices remain. Wheel, Flint, Tide, and the others without names. So I did actually read that before, but it's nice writing, so I'm not going to complain about being exposed to it. I think I'm just gonna jump back into the wood. And what else was I going to do? Nothing. So again, we anticipated a problem coming up and neutralized it with our use of the Restlessness. Rose is slimus, but loyal. And let's keep talking about deeper mysteries. So it's not like I really needed the extra reason, but it's nice to have. And I do have a spare collection of poetry, so we'll research this, although usually with my luck I get some kind of glimmering from some other activity, so... I've done some good. My patients are quieter than when I began. In this case, I'm just going to plow back into work, and I'm going to build myself a little bit of a war chest. I might actually buy one book, but I do want to get my finances back in order. Alright, Cater and Hero Limited. This place merits closer investigation. Let's keep working on those scraps. The house of Mr. Strathcoyne, a collector of rare objects. Strathcoyne will not sell his treasures, but a sufficiently cunning accomplice might gain entry. And Crater and Hero Limited, it's been abandoned since the explosion, when both the owners died. The machines are silent, and the building is a collapsing shell. Mr. Cater was known to display peculiar trinkets in his office. Let's go back to the well. Nope. Alright, we read that one fairly recently, so I'll let it go. I'm not having that much luck. They might have changed the distribution of things, because I feel like I'm getting less of the good stuff. That could also just be me complaining that I'm not having an easy time of it too. So, anyways, we'll clear out our poetry reserve. The nice thing here is, as far as dreaming is concerned, there's not really a great argument for me to do anything but, because there's more that I can take from it. You like playing Cultist Simulator in bed while the girlfriend's falling asleep? It's low impact and not too loud. Yeah, it's a really... See, this is one of the things that I like about it, is that you normally associate games that are calming with... Okay, so I'll be honest with you. I play Dark Souls to relax, because it's good at taking my mind off stuff. But, like, just because a game is mellow, or, as you say, low impact, doesn't mean that it's not that it's just some, like, casual thing that you can easily dismiss. Like, good games are good games, and I think Cultist Simulator has this really nice little sweet spot of being very in-depth and very engaging, but it's not the sort of thing that, like, it's, you know, the Doom music isn't gonna kick in and, like, kick you into the back of the room. Paintbagger says, did catch my Solaris stream on Monday, but only stayed about 5 minutes because you're quite tired. Yeah, no, it's so like I said, I never take attendance. But that's right. I think you must have said something, right? Anyways, you're more stressed out in Cultist Sim than you ever were in Dark Souls. I know it's weird to say that Dark Souls is relaxing, but I really do. Like, if I've had a bad day, I will definitely load up one of the Souls games to try and take myself down. So. Oh yeah, sound. Actually, so I remember when all the new sounds came in, and I really like the way that this game sounds. So you're absolutely right on that. But yeah, I was definitely going a little too deep. All right, let's grab another occult scrap because it looks like I'm running out. Contentment's coming up. I've gained an acquaintance, Clovette. And again, actually this time, let's see what's coming up. Season of Silence. I think I'm gonna go for... I think I'm gonna go for another Speak of Esoteric Matters. It doesn't mean I'm gonna have a little bit of a stack of followers, but there you have it. Alright, so we're doing okay poetry-wise. Which means I should probably be focusing on either studying lore or translating. So I'm going to do a big batch of translations. We'll start with the Orchid Transfigurations. I think I'll study these three. I'll get the Sanskrit reader out. Well, I don't need to do the Sanskrit reader right now, but I do need to start buying some books just to make sure that I'm on top of things. So, just finished Assassin's Creed Rogue for the first time. It is such a good game. Actually, Ben Skull, that's a game I've been meaning to play for a while because the 7 Years' War is a piece of history that I'm really interested in, and I love that they have a game set inside of that. So. I own it. I haven't played it yet, but I am really looking forward to it, and I'm glad that you enjoyed it. It gives me hope. And is it Leroy Jenk? Yes. Thank you for stopping by. How are you doing tonight? And yeah, Johnny. I think Johnny picked that up on. Was it a Ubisoft sale or was it the Steam sale? One way or the other, you picked it up recently. So the real question is whether or not I get to play it first or if Johnny's gonna scoop me. I have heard, I think somebody, I don't really think it counts as a spoiler, but I have heard that there's a major event that occurs in Unity, which is basically the ending of Rogue. I'm tempted to get the Peculiar Rumor just because I know it gives me another follower, but it also gives me notoriety. I'm going to pass this time around, but let's go to the Temple of the Wheel. We got another Secret Claw. I haven't found a really good use for influence at this stage just because I don't do a lot of rituals and I don't do a lot of painting, so... Alright, the Orchid Transfigurations, Volume 1, A Feast, the first volume of a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. It is a later English translation. Well, actually, I think I'm going to study this now. There's no point in in stacking them up, so... The illustrations are certainly striking. They flush the skin and glow beneath the eyelids after the book is closed. Okay. That's good to hear. And I mean, what's interesting too, right? I'm experiencing it the other way around. I'm playing Unity right now, but obviously Rogue was the last one with that old engine. So, hello, Brandon Man 2014. How are you doing tonight? I don't know. I'm a pretty okay doctor. I haven't done anything murderous yet. Alright, the Forsaken Reach. I believe this is the one that you get when you've explored everything else. So I'm going to do one more occult scrap just to confirm that, and then we can start buying books from Moorlands again. That's awesome to hear, Brandon, man. So I'm noticing more people from YouTube are stopping by the channel, which is wonderful because Twitch really is the main thing that I do. And it's not that I dislike YouTube, it's just that I find it's easier to do a broadcast like this. It's less of a demand on my time, which is funny because like I do stream for 3 hours of that. But what I tend to find is if I do a pre-recorded video, I'll still put like 2 or 3 hours effort into it. But from the editing and re-recording and all of the stuff like that, it winds up being like 15 minutes of content, and I don't feel good about it. So it's really nice that you guys have been stopping by, because I know there's something about having the chat and being able to interact rather than listening to some guy ramble on, especially when, you know, something happens where the context isn't immediately clear. So, but more importantly, it's been really rewarding that people... my favorite bit of feedback has always been from people who say that they didn't know about Cultist Simulator, or they were like seeing the content was enough to push them over the edge, because obviously the game sold very well, but Weather Factory are just so nice. It's really nice to see people like that succeed, because they are a wonderful example of people who are very passionate about what they do and clearly very talented. And I think, you know, Fox has done a wonderful job of convincing us that, like, people who are good at what they do are also jerks, and they're just so indispensable that they're allowed to be a jerk. But, I mean, if you didn't see the interview with Lottie and Alexis, I definitely recommend checking it. It's on GOG, but it'll be on the YouTube channel shortly. And I personally just had a lot of fun talking with them. They are so nice. So with that in mind, to find out that people have been exposed to the game and I've had this chance to share it with them, that's one of the biggest surprises and one of the really delightful things about YouTube. So yeah, there's still some people from the CK2 days, which is wild. So yeah, and me too, Brandon, man. Like, I don't really play a lot of games, like card-based games. Most of the card-based games that I play are physical ones, so something like Android Netrunner or, I mean, some of the GMT games are very card-driven, so Twilight Struggle, Labyrinth, Time of Crisis. But this is definitely very different from what one normally thinks about in terms of a card game. So. And also found me through the early content you saw there, pushed you to get interest. That's awesome, Leroy Jang. Thank you for saying that. And again, like, it's easy to get a little, I don't mean to sound too egocentric about this stuff, but like there's a lot of times on the streaming stuff where I do not feel like God's gift to casting. And so when I get some feedback that says, you know, I like it when you do this, it really does help in terms of identifying some just some angles to do, or to make sure that the interests of people are lined up. I'm not always like, I'm not a jukebox. I'm still gonna play stuff that I'm interested in. But to hear that, like, the biggest thing is that if I were to do Cultist Simulator for a year straight, I would start thinking, it's like, you know what, people are probably getting tired of this. And if people didn't say, no, I love it when you play this game, I would stop. So it's stuff that, it's not just the fact that, people shout out the stream or host or hang out, but to actually hear somebody say, I like it when you do X, really does go a long way in terms of telling me what's working. So, you love watching me play this, but you dread buying it and not enjoying it? Why do you think you wouldn't enjoy it? Alright, so many things rise from the well in the wood. Last night it was a swarm with wormy roots. The trees clustered and whispered. Perhaps they were welcoming the influx. I found a sleeping soul ensnared in the roots, and I helped them struggle free. When they wake, they will recall my face, as I do theirs. Okay, so I have a bit of a decision to make now. So this peculiar rumor is only going to be around for about a minute. So I've gained unseen. So I think I am going to... I'm gonna add Clovette to the cult. Oops. Because I need somebody with the heart aspect. Yeah, not much else I can do about that. Alright, so the Orchid Transfigurations. We must devour to be devoured. We cannot be undevoured, as we cannot be unborn. Gained another red secret, and I guess I'm putting my Latin to work again. So we'll gain the second Orchid Transfigurations. What else do we have? I think a lot of people like watching it. Yeah, I definitely think that there's a lot. I mean, so one thing I dislike about the stream, and I really haven't been able to find a way to get around this, is that I don't like the fact that I know the answers to some puzzles, and inevitably by me doing it on stream, people are going to know how to do a certain action rather than discovering it for themselves. So when I do tutorial stuff, I try not to make it obvious on the casts, but I very deliberately decide not to solve certain things. And it drives me crazy when people are like, you need to do that? Hello? It's like, because I'm very deliberately holding back. But, there's no, just people really want you to know that they're right, apparently. So, But I sort of figure when it's a Let's Play, people kind of have the idea that they're going to find out about certain mechanics of the game. So it's the most permissible format, in my opinion, for that sort of thing. But I still wish that I had like I wish I had the little flashy thing from Men in Black to basically wipe everybody's memory and let them solve all the problems on their own. All right. Oh, that's really cool, Paint Bucket, because I know Unity, is, so in my opinion, is unfairly hated. It's not the best Assassin's Creed game, and I really do think the controls need some polish, but there are actually some very good things in that game that I don't think it gets enough credit for. I gotta figure out what I want to do with this restlessness. I could probably use it, and yeah, I could just recruit with it. But I do also want to get rid of that notoriety. Oh, well, I'm gonna get the notoriety through exploration. Okay. Oops. If you ask a lot of hardcore AC players, they say that one's the best. Oh, that's really surprising. Yeah, definitely the controls are enough for me to say that it is a flawed one, but it's I find it very enjoyable across certain measures. The one thing I will say is I think it takes too long to get to the good stuff. Personal opinion, but beyond that, it's probably still the best looking, in my opinion. That's not really my opinion. A lot of people say that, but again, I'm just neutralizing the restlessness here, and we will track down the rumor. But I upgraded Clovette before because Clovette may be able to help me do a little bit of reputational. Oh, this is the worst possible time I could have had a notoriety pop up. You prefer Unity over Black Flag, as Black Flag is a cool pirate game, but not a good AC game. I actually haven't played Black Flag, but I do own it now. I think Ubisoft gave away a free copy at some point. And you prefer any AC game over Origins. Interesting. Because I always keep hearing people talking about how good they thought Origins was, but I've been a couple of people now who've talked about how they didn't like Origins to me. That's interesting. Alright, so let's have a quick chat with Clovette. Significant conversations in a smoky meeting room. What do I need from my follower? Add to your cult, send them on cult business, or send them after enemies, or raise another matter. So, please charm people, Clovette. And I've prepared a text for study, so the Orchid Transfigurations Volume 2, the second volume of a compilation of quasi-Rosicrucian allegories, supposedly by Robert Flood. This is the later English translation. Okay. And I might as well read it. Flood, or pseudo-Flood, suggests alignments between the alchemical tradition of Rubidoux and older Grail traditions. See the Pine Knight Cup's quest for the Cinnabar Cup. And I definitely need to start buying books again. I just keep using my Explore for other things. In for a penny, in for a pound. Let's do some more peculiar rumors. While I was returning from the depths, one appeared in front of my eyes, whose mouth was sealed. When I saw them in the great emptiness, I cried out. I think that last night I met another soul in the wood. I will never recall exactly what we said, one to another, but I think that we will recognize each other in the waking world. Ah, that's really neat. So these peculiar rumors are fellow adepts that I'm meeting in the menses. I always had like a suspicion of that, but I was never sure. Prodzy Smock, thank you very much for that host. How are you doing tonight? And were you streaming tonight, or did you just do the host? All right. An unpromising address, but a promising resident. So we've gained Slee. Craig Slee, the astronomer and avant-garde poet, has developed an interest in esoteric as his health wanes. So we're gonna cool it for now. I've got 30 seconds on Clovette, so we should be okay. I'm going to use this opportunity to go to Moreland's shop. It may mean, yeah, I'm definitely going to lose the rumor. Is it worth it? It's not worth guaranteeing a notoriety. So in this case, I'm going to sack the peculiar rumor, and instead we will go to Moreland's to buy some books. 3 a.m. here, so you should try to sleep. Well, this is a pretty relaxing game, so you should be in good hands here. I will say, I am fond of, of ancient Greece, so I am looking forward to seeing how they handle that in Odyssey. And I was debating, so like, obviously, when you look at the setting for Origins, your thing is like, well, what, how can they reuse some assets from Origins in a, in a follow-up Assassin's Creed game? And I thought that they would be doing an Ancient Rome one. But in this case, they decided to go for Greece, which I also think works. The Forge's Roar. Okay, we've already read that a couple of times. And the new volume of the Orchid Transfigurations. Seek the cup in the birthing bed, the Pine Knight is told. The midwife at the birthing bed, to his amazement, is the Mountain Mother. In a fit of awe, he both gelds and flays himself. The vigilant storm bursts joyfully from the remains. I don't think this gets me to higher levels. There's nothing in that to suggest that I get to higher levels of the Menses, so. Study time. Deoris it is. And if I really stuck, I'll read some Sanskrit just to prove how smart I am. And I gained on the white. Well, didn't need to translate, but I can just jump straight back into Moreland's shop because I no longer have a rumor. Chalk is your cure to the inability to sleep with the soft deep tone. Oh, that's very kind of you, Ben Skull. And true, but it's also an interesting game with multiple endings. It's also captivating. It really is. I mean, I didn't know until the interview that this game had idle games as an inspiration, but it completely makes sense now. I actually went and played Universal Paperclips, Adventure Capitalist, Clicker Heroes, and Adventure Communist. Problem is that they kind of bounce off me. I do play them, but I don't really stick with them. So I'm gonna start writing down the results because I sometimes thought that they were fixed results, but I'm not sure. Like, then I lost the opinion, like, then I thought that maybe they weren't fixed, and I'm growing of the opinion that they are consistent again. I'm actually going to take a second and... Alright, where are we at? Hey, Kuneringut. That'll help me with my further translations. I've got enough money to do another trip to Moreland, so we'll get that taken care of. And earnest speeches, affable conversation. Optimism is the spice which saves. So Clovette is now MVP on Team Unflinching Order. And we will add Slee to neutralize the restlessness. You've been playing AC since 2, and you feel that Revelations is the most underrated. The Hookblade improved the Thief climb mechanic. Yeah, well, Constantinople's a really good setting for it, absolutely. But I think one of the other things, like, I can't think of moments quite like the fire ship in most games. I thought the fire ship was a really exciting sequence, which it's really stuck with me. And they do a nice job of tying together all the stories. So, I mean, personally, I like. Renaissance Italy, and it's cool that there was Machiavelli in the earlier ones, but I thought Revelations was a really worthy conclusion to the time that they spent on the Ezio storyline. Alright, I'll see if I have a chance to get a cheeky little vitality out of something, but in the worst case scenario, I just spend the money. Alright, what are we looking at here? An occasionally coherent catalog of secret gods. This is an English translation of a volume dealing with the powers of the wood. This volume deals mostly with the hours of the wood, the moth, the black flax, the ring yew, among others. Hello, Talwyn Greenwood. Slee speaks earnestly of his theories to all who will listen. The stars as tiny wounds, and the sun is a hemorrhage of glory. His poetry is more eccentric than ever. I got lantern somewhere here. There we go. So we're starting to fill out our ranks, which will allow me to start doing some expeditions. It's a collection of essays in case I get bored. And I've got my notepad up, just, I'm going to start keeping records of what happens when I go into the menses, so... Okay. The wood... thing in the brain... So I think there should be a vitality behind the well. Oh, awareness of appetite. It's the least useful one. Sorry, I'm covering up chat when I do my notes. The hunter has found... If a hunter has found notoriety, they will try to use it to create or upgrade evidence. If they're meticulous, they'll always succeed. If they're erratic, they're more likely to fail, but they will occasionally create evidence without notoriety. And we've got the first volume of Traveling at Night. We already read volume 2, so we'll go back to Moorlands for more research. Now, as far as my affliction, I'm actually going to wait. I'm going to do one more round in the Mansis, just in case I have... okay, Dread's coming up, so I want to be careful about my restlessness. I want to see if there's a possibility of me getting vitality in the Mansis, but in the worst case scenario, I'll just use my funds. Starting to think you're making you sleep on purpose to feed on your dreams? I mean, there is only one place where I can get the rumors, right? Alright. So we got some erudition for our trouble, which will be helpful with the collection of essays. The glory is a question, and the moth always answers yes. The black flax's answer is no, and that is always its answer. So we gained the Barber's Warning, which was the last piece of lore, or the last aspect, which I didn't have. So, a power of the wood enjoys separation of the lock from the scalp. For attention, burn it. For opportunity, bury it. Speak this over a corpse in a rite with winter influence present, and the corpse will rise. Does anyone else think that it sounds incredibly illegal for a hunter to make evidence without finding anything? Sure, but then the Suppression Bureau does not follow the laws the way that us normal people do. So I kind of feel like if I translate what is contained by silver, I might get another erudition out of it, but I'm going to go for the safe run, and I'm going to read whatever's to hand. The world is awash in printed words. Even newspapers contain knowledge sometimes. I'm just going to give this as a chance to boost up my reason. Hey, and Moorlands is closing. Okay, so... So we'll go to the well again. Another awareness of appetite. More about Grail bits. Oh, damn it. I want to do my affliction, but that's fine. We might get another vitality. I'm moving on, Miss Moreland informs you. My stock is largely exhausted and the Suppression Bureau are taking an interest. So it's goodbye. This last book is nonsense, but I've tucked some interesting papers into the back as a thank you for your custom. So I don't think anything happens to Morelands. Alright. The Iguvine Rite. Every door in the Manses requires its sacrifice before it will open. The Iguvine Rites prescribe the manner of the sacrifice. Nearly every summoning rite requires knock influence. This lore will provide it. Now, I think from the Locksmith's Dream, I think this probably means that I'm going to be able to get to the White Door off of this. But more importantly, we've got the most important lore book in the game. Something something deep mystery something. A dreadful souffle of half-digested rumor about the secret worlds and the irrelevance of contemporary morality, including a catalog of unlikely and probably invented debaucheries, which we will sell at an exorbitant price. This oddity is probably worth something, but it's hard to be sure. And Paint Bucket says the way Ezio moves fits the fact that he's not as agile as his younger self. Or I think there's like a sound clip that actually acknowledges that in the game too. But yeah, I thought, like that whole trilogy I thought was really well crafted. I know it's easy to hate on like big AAA stuff, especially when you play like a lot of indies like I do, but I really do, like, I am happy that the indie developers I follow make the types of games that they do, because clearly to be able to sustain to be able to sustain the production of a game that costs something like an Assassin's Creed, they would not be able to make obscure stuff that I sometimes enjoy. But with that in mind, like, I mean, anybody who saw my Doom playthrough knows that I really do enjoy very mainstream, very popular stuff. Alright. Furtive Truth again, and Sylvia. Sylvia lost her eye in the woods when she was 9 years old. Every year at Candlemas she returns to the place she buried it. I may be able to recruit her as a follower. And let's go talking about deep mysteries. Alright, so I've got my extra erudition. Let's throw we'll throw the book at that problem. To work, and I really need to make sure that I take care of my affliction. I am going to take a quick peek and see. Yep, that'll get me to the White Door, but this might give me vitality, which is good. So all right, so this restlessness, I will have just enough. Oh no, I won't. Drat, this is going to turn into despair before I can deal with it. Okay, back to studying. So normally I'd actually really like to get the Peculiar Rumor, but in this case I'm going to go to the Temple of the Wheel just so I can see what's behind these. Furtive Truth and Vitality, that is such a heartbreaker. But it's interesting that Furtive Truth has currently only ever appeared behind the Temple of the Wheel, so... In my sleep I came to the High Jagged Rocks, which is still called the Temple of the Wheel. Though the hour-called wheel is long extinct. Although another hand had scratched the secret in black lantern on its flank. I burned that secret into my memory to preserve for waking before the velvet came out of the velvet wood depths and erased it. The velvet is jealous of her secrets. So that'll help me for more locations. But for now, let's buy some medicine. The medicine is dark and bitter as tar. It would be easy to suspect that I am being poisoned. You know, I'll be honest with you, Paint Bucket. This is not a popular opinion by any stretch of the imagination, but I never really cared that much for the modern day stuff in Assassin's Creed. I always thought they would be better games if they were just purely historical ones. But we perch on alarming Ritevel chairs in a windowless auction room. Let's find out what that word means. Oh, cool. Gerrit Thomas Rietveld was a Dutch furniture designer and architect, one of the principal members of the Dutch artistic movement called De Stijl. Rietveld is famous for his red and blue chair and for the Rietveld Schroeder House, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So let us see his red and blue chair. Huh. The style, known as neoplasticism, was a Dutch artistic movement founded in 1917 in Leiden. I think it's de stijl. Consisted of artists and architects. In a narrower sense, the term de stijl is used to refer to a body of work from 1917 to 1931 founded in the Netherlands. Proponents of it advocated pure abstraction and universality by reduction to the essentials of form and color. They simplified visual compositions to vertical and horizontal, using only black, white, and primary colors. Here you go. With windowless auction room with vividly burnt orange walls, waiting for the auctioneer to announce what he's offering. The reek of new paint makes the brain spin. So let's see what's coming up. Well, it's a book of essays, but I've raised my hand. The auctioneer raps out an acknowledgement. Will anyone match me? Oh, okay, so let's deal with restlessness, fleeting memory. I think I'll just paint the restlessness away in this case. I don't have anything to worry about with the mystique, although we'll be adding that for a while. The auctioneer makes a note of my name and signals one of the attendants. I have my prize. I hope it's worth it. Not really, but I still want to buy it. Oh, let's be careful here. I need to think. Got reason for days. I already have the Sanskrit reader. Speaking of which, yeah, I should be using this study for... Let's read Traveling at Night. The wood lies outside the walls of the manses, and as any student of the histories knows, the manses has no walls. The annotated dream journals of Christopher Illopoli, sometimes called the only readable occultist, literate, entertaining, and bewildering. What will I do with 7 or so reason? I will hoard it. I mean, realistically, 7 reason is more than I could possibly need. The most that would be employed in study would be 3. I could have reason consumed for talk with another patron. I don't know if there is a thing that will gobble up my reason for exploration. And I could be going to an area of the manses that requires me to use reason, but at this point I'm just getting it for the sake of getting it. Alright, I said I was going to deal with my restlessness, so let's use my vivid imagination, and I don't have any mystique because the investigator gobbled it up, so we'll employ my passion, and I will be inspired by my restlessness. Sick room grows close and stale, time to get up. Obviously there are some rituals later on that I could use to trade off for... you know, for some, you know, turn it into passion or something like that, but I'm doing it mostly just because I can. There's not really a whole lot of other Oh, you know what? I was meaning to... Oh, yeah, no, I couldn't recruit Sylvia because... Oh, hello. Colors of the Night. Oh, yeah, that's right. I'm painting, not going to work. Haven't won the auction. The auction is over. The book has gone elsewhere. I retain my funds. And it's a collection of poetry, which again, I'm not gonna like bet the farm on this thing, but it's more resources. This is something special. It may provoke a reaction. My recent work has drawn some attention. Alright, well that'll give him something to think about. Alright, we can learn from each other. Gain my furtive truth back. Well, hello, Mr. Jennings. Count Gottlob Jennings represents a continental confraternity of physicians and duelists. He could use your assistance. I bet he could. Let's talk turkey, sir. Alright, and we got... Alright, passion's exhausted. I gained how many mystique? Well, I got some glimmering, which will be good for me. Mystique for days. Okay, well, it basically paid for itself. But at least I got rid of the restlessness. Alright, so... now we get to test. So I'm going to be under investigation for a while. It doesn't make sense to get a peculiar rumor because that'll turn into notoriety. And if it's fixed values, then there should be a furtive truth behind the wheel and a vitality behind... sorry, yeah, and a vitality behind the well. Ah, interesting. So I think it is random, but I'm going to make a note of that. And have we read this? Yes, we have. Gives me something else to paint if I want, but for now, let's go to a higher level. Alopoli describes how he came to make repeated visits to a dream wood via what he calls the silver dreams. Trying to think your way to the wood, he explains, is like thinking your way to being in love. But I did find a secret that helped. So this is, incidentally, if you were at a point where you didn't know how to access the wood, this is what would tell you. This is the line here that reveals it, but it's really subtle, and of course I've come to this already knowing how to get to the wood, so, but that's a great example of how this game actually... See, the funny thing is this game actually holds your hand a lot more than I think people give it credit for, but you have to learn to look for those things. A subtle flaw, so every time I ask that question of a card, I actually like to bring it up because I think sometimes it's easy to overlook the amount of information that the game gives you. So the description: laces uncoil, windows swing open, locks move as if oiled. A second order influence, apparent to the perceptive, instantly recognizable to an adept. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. So this has aspect influence, an echo, a resonance, an alignment, something that will fade soon. And it has the aspect of knock. Knock permits no seal and no isolation. It thrusts us gleefully out of the safety of ignorance. So I'm not entirely sure how to exactly, like, I don't know exactly how to describe this thing. It's sort of the presence of the aspect of knock, and so it would be sort of this case like, this is a really subtle one, and so I would almost imagine like I'm walking down the street with the aspect of knock sort of wafting over me, and my shoelaces keep coming undone, or, you know, belt goes undone. I mean, if the belt goes undone, that's a little more comedic, but the shoelaces might be as well. But in this case, it's essentially it's sort of the presence of these aspects sort of pushing through the world for a temporary period of time. And you can use them in rituals, you can use them in paintings, there's different things that you can do, but the main driver on this one is the fact that it's an influence as opposed to, you know, a follower, which is an acquaintance or, you know, job. The main thing governing this is the fact that it's an influence. A physician duelist is quite ironic. We'll see what the physician duelist wants. Count Jennings would like a substantial commission on heart. I think substantial's level 4. Yeah, the Count will pay for information of interest. This time he'd like a substantial research on the corporeal mysteries of the heart. You'll find a matching lore fragment of at least 4. And I've got my collection of poetry, so I can study that if I really want to. But let's see what else is at the auction house. I'm running a little low on money, but I should be able to get one more thing. Oh yes, and Sylvia. Sylvia, I'll just recruit her the old-fashioned way, so unflinching order. Gildasleeve's Latin grammar? No, thank you. I have a very specific thing that I'm waiting for on Poppy, by the way. So I haven't forgotten her, I just don't want to take the deal yet. Actually, I mean, I might as well explain it. So, I mean, if you... In my opinion, this is not the sort of game that you get all, like, twitchy about optimally playing. But because if I upgrade a follower of Moth, like a pawn of Moth, they're gonna turn into a madman anyway. So I always figure that that's a good person to sacrifice to Poppy because I'm gonna wind up losing them anyway. So until I find the hanger-on, which has the Moth aspect, I usually don't take Poppy's offer. That's not always true. There are some pawns that I'm willing to give up, but I'm not in any rush to get the money. So I've held off for now. Sylvia has detailed knowledge of roof ridges and the river at low tide, of Irish whiskey, and of conjuring tricks. So do not take her for some conjurer of cheap tricks, but she totally can do those too. And the auction's over for the book that I already have, or don't need. An Oreo. I will bid for the Oreo. Can of nitrate film labeled Stum, silent, or perhaps mute. The director's name, Jernik Krosse, is shakily appended. Alright. These are the bounds about the house, with their mists and their traces. This is the rock called the Temple of the Wheel, high as a church spire, patched with black lichen and daubed with eye signs. I round it, and there ahead of me is the white door, open, as it was prescribed so long ago. So, new location. In my dreams I've passed the white door, which has been called the bone door and the gate of ivory. My voice remains outside the house each time I enter. The words contain knowledge. Now I contain it. There's little left. It is a little like theft and a little like feasting and a little like the progress of an infectious disease. All right, let's stack everything together. 108, 107. All right, we'll do the collection of poetry, especially because I tend to need passion more often than anything. And what's coming up next? Pretty serene time, so we'll work. And let's make a trip to the white door. And this one, right, that one requires health. Now I can approach the white door through the bounds. Now I can press my fingers to it, feel its chill, watch it swing open. As it opens, my mouth closes, tightens, heals over like a lost deformity. Around and about me is the cobalt light of the menses. So once I get my erudition done, I'll go back to reading on the white. I've won the auction. The auctioneer makes a note of my name and signals one of the attendants. I have my prize. I hope it's worth it. Oh, it is. But I don't think I want to be spending any more money at Oriflamme, so we'll take my pawn and we'll see if we can find anything cool in London. And the investigation should be done soon, although I might get some additional mystique based on how long it takes me to... A hireling, a bomb maker. Perhaps we shouldn't discuss politics just yet. The hireling may be useful for some expeditions and may help with hunters and annoyances. I'm going to let this run down for a little while, and we'll see what comes up. I think the problem is... No, we should actually be able to do something about... I really want to kill him though. Yeah, I'll leave it be for now. Right, so we've made our way to the white door, so I can get a furtive truth for free, or I can get some of these other things. I think I'm going to go for the furtive truth, because I am going to need to explore those, so. Entering the White Door. Many of the dead enter the manses through the White Door. They wander its corridors in silence until they are lost. Some embrace each other, some devour each other, some force their way into the dreams of the living. Few record their memories on the mantis stone where it is soft. They scratch it with their nails, you see. Last night, I read one of those memories. Alright. And I think I'm gonna go full bore on studying the White Door. So the drawback, of course, is if I wind up with a, with a sickness. But even then, I should have at least 1 health to work on that. So got my passion, and we will prove how smart we are by reading a book of essays. Exercise for the intellect. I think I can go to Oriflamme's next. So yeah, I'm gonna leave the hireling for now. I could technically wipe out the weary detective for that, but I don't really feel the need to do so. I have more or less what I need to keep him under control for now. Better not. I must be careful of the company I keep. I guess I did say I was going to go to the auction house, so... And let's see who our new friend is. Eldridge, an elegant man of inelegant habits. You may be able to recruit him as a follower. I intend to. Probably don't really need to pause every action, but... Konner and Goethe, but I already have it. Der Aufschriftliche Grammatik der Griechischen Sprache. A Greek grammar, an essential weapon for a ferocious struggle with a challenging language. Alright, well, I'm not too interested in the icy atmosphere, so let's visit the Orchard of Lights. And we get glimmering. The sun and splendor, the hour who once ruled. Octavian, thank you very much. My god, there's 109 of you right now. Well, this changes the dynamic. Welcome to somebody who is substantially less exciting than Octavian, and my god, thank you very much for that attention, sir. I feel like I need to talk about Path of Exile, which I've never played, but I know you play a lot. And I'm gonna feel like a bit of a jackass if I don't have something nice to say about you. Let me just read the thing about, how are you doing, Octavian? Eyes of Sin is sadly not here, but I will be sure to say what a mensch you are. The sun and splendor, the hour who once ruled the manses, was known to walk in the orchard before his terrible division. Sometimes his remnants walk here still. Sometimes I see the chilly radiance of the Menesgate through the trees, or the chillier radiance with the sun in rags. Were they to come upon me, it might be the end, but to see them from in the distance is the gift of insight. I can't remember, Octavian. I know you've been in here before when I've played this, but I don't recall if you own Cultist Simulator or not. For those of you unfamiliar with Cultist Simulator, this is the first game by a new small indie studio called Weather Factory. Weather Factory consists of Lottie Bevan, former producer at Fail Better Games, and Alexis Kennedy, former founder of Fail Better Games. And it's a really neat little... I think you're playing a set... Oh, that is right! Yes, I was playing Unity while you were here. You are sorry, I play a lot of Cultist Simulator, but you have a much better memory than I do. But yeah, so for those of you from Octavian's stream who aren't familiar with this game, this is a really interesting narrative card game. And the best that I can sort of describe it is all of the cards on this table sort of represent an element of my life. Somebody who I know, some knowledge that I have, different elements such as my health or my reason, my passion, my worldly resources in terms of funds, places that I know, contacts I've made, places I've looked into. And what this game does is it gives you tiny fragments, these glimpses at a world sort of beyond our common everyday experience. Yeah, no worries. I will talk all about your merits, unless you want to be here for that. But I'll do my best to sell your people on it. But thank you very much for stopping by, Octavian. I really appreciate that, especially because I know usually when you're one of those people with a purple check mark, there is a big benefit to hosting bigger people than me. So I really do appreciate that. But yeah, so what this game does, in terms of the tensions, you have your mundane concerns, such as the fact that you get tired when you work or that you need to keep a roof over your head. And you combine that with this deep passion you have inside of yourself, this, your destiny, this gift you want to give to the world, the book you want to write, the game you want to make, all of these different things. And rather than just give you a big collection of things, right? It's not just like put card on verb and, and the magic happens or something like that. The game will always just leave the next step dangling out of reach. And so the thing that's neat about this is while you're playing somebody who's sort of plumbing the depths, pulling away at the skin of the world and seeing what's really there, you yourself as the player are trying to learn how to play the game. It doesn't hold your hand. And so it's a really unique experience. A lot of people talk about it being quite addicting, which I think is, it's fair. I mean, I've definitely had like 7-hour streams of this, but that was just because I was really enjoying the stream. But especially if you guys like cool and unusual things, I definitely recommend that you guys stick around. For those of you who are looking for something a little bit more energetic and more upbeat, I probably am not as good of a follow-up to Octavian. But I'd love to have you guys hanging around. Thank you for those of you who did stay. And for those of you who don't know Octavian, I know him primarily as a Path of Exile streamer, but a good friend of Eyes of Sins. And she's definitely had some extremely kind things to say about him. In fact, she would give a much better shout out of him than I can. But I would definitely say, partly this is the connection with the Eyes of Sin, but he's definitely somebody who I could actually sit down and watch play Path of Exile, which is a game that didn't quite get its hooks in me, but I certainly had a good time in there. And it was a very friendly community when I was hanging out. So that's the best I can give. I'm sorry I can't give a slightly more elaborate introduction to Octavian. But I haven't had as many chances to watch him as he has had to watch me. So let's go back through the white door. And as far as study, let's read on the white and then we'll read stum. On closer investigation, the work seems to be a theory of aesthetics, or perhaps a set of warning about the dangers of painting. Solomon Husher writes perhaps allegorically of winter and its long, slow, doomed romance with sun. The epigraph is sunset at noon. So as you can see here, we're talking about the actions that you can perform on different elements in your life. And here we've gone into our study to read this book on the white. And I'm playing a gentleman, Dr. Hobbs, who is a physician, and he's going to work right now. All right, so we've recruited Eldridge. Eldridge has almost learned not to pick his teeth with his knife in conversation. He has not yet learned to leave his knife in his boot. We don't have much else to do with our talk right now, so let's drop some hints about occult scraps and see what happens, and we'll take another trip to Oriflamme's to see if we can buy anything. De Bellis Smirorum, in Latin, an 18th century epic poem by the pseudonymous Solipstos. We have 2 assassins. The only thing is they're level 2, so I don't think they're too Eldridge and Rose. I just don't think they're too good. And I mean, I did turn down the opportunity to get the bomb maker, so oh, someone has matched my bid. I must match it with more funds or forego my prize. All right, so for those of you who were curious, this is the manses. So we've passed through the wood. We're currently at the white door. There are other elements of the manses which we've not reached yet, such as the spider door or the stag door. But in this case here, this is the world of Dream, and we're learning more about it as we continue to read these books. But for now, we'll visit the Lodge of the Sage Knight. And I missed out on a Forgotten Chronicle, which is a shame, but I did get a favor from authority. So Last night I dreamt of a blue silk pavilion overlooking the cloudy labyrinth of the bounds. I listened to the mistress of the place speak of other visitors. The Suppression Bureau come here. Did you know that? I think they hope to recruit me as an ally, she snorts derisively. After what they tried to do to Christopher? But their folly is your fortune. I will tell you something that may help you, if the Bureau ever troubles you. So I get this, I've learned something that will earn me favor, once only. This will preserve you or a follower from imprisonment, but it cannot be relied on. So the problem here is that this is only going to last 300 seconds, and I've done a pretty good job of keeping my nose clean. But I think we'll take another trip to the White Door. At some point sickness is going to come, and that's going to be bad for me, but... From on the White, Husher writes distractedly of his hatred of colors and his yearning for death. He hints at a great work that he has envisaged or begun, where the palest of paintings will enthrall the world. He returns again and again to certain compelling phrases, which he claims are the secret words of winter. Alright, let's look at Stumm. So in this case I need to buy a projector. The film rattles through the projector, glowing silently on the wall. It is the story of a foolish student of forbidden sciences who recruits a dancer to entice the dead back into the world through a flaw in its skin. It's a fiction, but here on a title card is laid out the operation of the declining sun. And we'll go back to work. Paint Bucket's gonna go to sleep now. Stream has been fun. You'll definitely make sure to catch the next one. Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that, Paint Bucket. Cultist Simulator is next week, but my next stream will be on Friday, where we'll very likely be playing more Assassin's Creed Unity, but as always, I leave myself the option open. But I hope you have a great sleep, and we'll see you next time. Alright, looks like somebody really wants a copy of De Bellis Murorum, but I am a wealthy doctor, so I can keep throwing things at it. Now, at some point, I am going to combine all these lore fragments together, but at the moment, it's a little more profitable for me to just be studying these books. Even for one that I need to translate, I don't need to sit and wait for glimmering and erudition and all of that to pop up. So I've sort of been working with that. Oh, Jesus. All right, well... I've raised my hand. The auctioneer raps out an acknowledgement. Will anyone match me? I definitely don't want restlessness. An intensity of radiance. Light dews the skin and suffuses the air. A sixth order influence, significant resonances, or correspondences. This can be used in some rites to summon minions. The invisible arts, Christopher Alopoli is said to have remarked, are as profitable as macrame, as ethical as tobacco smuggling, and in general as beneficial as roulette. Still, there is always the Orchard of Lights, and indeed the orchard, with its glowing fruit and its peaceful mists, is a place to be yearned for. Last night I walked there in the peaceful hours after the deep night. Oops, sorry. Yes, even after waking, I still carry with me a little of the glory of the old sun. Those funds will be helpful with my auction, and Stumm has given me dread. The rite is depicted in chilling detail. Here is a flaw in the world, an influence shimmering in luminous paint. Here is the dancer establishing an irresistible rhythm. Here the scholar recites the operation, and now the misty dead whirls through the flaw to consume him. The film closes, and the dancer's watchful eyes. Had he intended it all from the start? So that's Edge, which won't help me. Season of Despair isn't coming up, so I'll be okay for a little while. I've gained the Sunset Rite. The assistant must cry tears of genuine emotion, which are asperged in the place where the influence lies. If all is done well, the sun and rags will consume the influence, acknowledging an ending, and lend its assistance. And the Operation of the Declining Sun. This invokes, acknowledges, and welcomes the passage to silence. Use this in a rite with heart influence and Byzantine tinct to summon the voiceless dead. So this is a level 6 influence. It's actually the most powerful winter influence that I have. But let's think a little bit about how we'll deal with this dread. I don't have any means of getting contentment right away, and I don't have... Okay, well, the first thing I'm going to do is read Kerner and Goethe so I can study what is contained by silver, and hopefully this auction will finish soon. Well, season of sickness is coming up. I'll be able to survive it though, so. Actually, here's what I can do with my weary detective. I should think about that. Ah, here's the hanger-on. Okay. Hey, Maka, good to see you again. I'm glad that you had a chance to see me. I will warn you, I'm close to finishing off, but we'll keep going as long as we can. We did have a really nice host from Octavian, so I want to do my best to show people this interesting game. Incidentally, if anybody does have any questions about the game, I am very happy to answer them. So. I've won the auction. The auctioneer makes a note of my name and signals one of the attendants. I have my prize. I hope it's worth it. Lore is always worth it. Now, I'm not going to spend the funds. So the question is, do I want to try and depress the weary detective? Perhaps we could parlay, or perhaps I could send something to ambush him. Describe the horrors awaiting an adversary. Something to think about every time you close your eyes. This might terrify the hunter, but it will always increase your own dread. And one of the things I'm going to do about that is I'm going to visit the Ecdysis Club when I get a chance. Have I ever played The Consuming Shadow? I have not even heard of The Consuming Shadow, Maka the Baka. What, could you please describe it to me? So one of the reasons why I can do this right now is that I have the favor from an authority. So if it comes down to it and I wind up getting, if you know, I get in trouble, I can use the favor. Actually, there's one other thing I'm going to try. Let's go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight this time. Hey, Forgotten Chronicle. The contentment would have been nice, but... Last night I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My hostess manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair and dark glasses. No, she admits, I don't need them any more than I need eyes. Allow me my sentimentalities. But you've come for knowledge, I expect. Here's a story I heard from my Kersham days. You're welcome to it. Only remember me if you come to make the pilgrimage. Okay, so I'm going to keep my health available for the next little while. Dreaming-wise, I feel like it's okay to visit the wood again. I should have tried seeing if I could go further through the white door with that higher level of white, actually. Anyway. A determined and distinctive tongue, but I have the measure of it. No doubt you're conversant with every variety of Greek from the beginning of Byzantium, but it's a good thing you have those reference works. So we will translate on what is contained by silver. Before I go back to work, I'm going to take a quick peek at what the Sunset Rite wants from me. So an offering, an assistant, and an invocation. So I don't have the influences I once wanted. I'll kick around with a little bit of what I can, so... If I had Grail, I might contact something shapeless, and of course Grail is the one person I don't... Well, one of the people I don't have, so... And it's all like level 2 and 4 stuff, so... This is very much a Lovecraft-inspired clue finder game. You have a limited time to banish the right ancient being or really bad stuff happens. It's a roguelike, so the same even may not play out the same way twice. Gameplay is simple, but I feel that's why the game is good. Alright, I'll take a look for it, Maka the Baka. So, Sunset Red is interesting to me, mostly because if I do Rite of the Crucible Soul, I need a victim. And I'm not quite ready to give up one of my guys yet. But the Sunset Rite, I need an invocation, which is lore. I need an assistant, which is someone I have. I need an offering, which is influence, and that's something that I get and is pretty transitory. And then I can employ desire, but I don't always have to, and I don't have a level 6 desire yet, so I can live with most of this. In any case, I'm not gonna commit to any of that now. We'll go back to work, and we'll see what happens. Actually, I will explore a furtive truth just so I can get that out of the way. The hunter growls defiance, but you can see that your words have found their mark. This hunter has become grim. So I gained some notoriety for that. I also gained an extra dread, so I wanna be careful. But we might be able to get rid of this detective. I'll keep this one, and I'll let this run down further. So the reasoning that I have here is that this is going to be one that I let run down on its own, and then the other one I'll nullify with a... Oh, yes, I was meaning to try this. Okay, so that doesn't seem to do anything on its own. Well, it might, but... I also forgot I have this fascination, so I can actually use this dread to nullify that as well. So I'm going to need to be a little careful in terms of the actions that I take for the next little while, but I should be able to manage most of it. Okay, so I'm going to hang out. Let's go to the well. Okay, well, I can explore the peculiar rumor. I'm going to cool it on the wood for the next little while. So I've prepared the text for study. A dire bestiary of the horrors to be found in mirrors. This is a recent edition by a 3rd century text by Pomander. So we'll gobble that down right now. The dire bestiary of horrors is to be found in... Oh, okay, this is the exact same text. And I want to get this affliction dealt with right away, so we're just going to throw money at the problem. Oh, that was not a good call. I should have used painting, but I believe I will... Yeah, okay, I can still survive this. Gladwin Lake. Okay, so let me think a bit about... I want to pair this dread and fascination. I'm going to gain restlessness. So what do I want to do with exploration at the moment? Good question. Visit the Ecdysis Club. The entrance is lost beneath soft drapes. Oh! Soft drapes of crimson cinnabar and incarnate. Above the door, the club motto, Ingi rum imus nocte et consumi mur igni. It has been rendered as, into the night circle we fly until fire enjoys us. The drinks, the songs, the light, the arching walls, and the smoke blue haze. The press and sway of clothed and unclothed flesh. Your account is too much for the hunter. Their eyes bulge, their jaw tightens. In the days to come, they will sink inexorably into despair. Alright, so I have enough dread to wipe me out, but I have some plans for this. So... let's do a bit of a balancing act. First thing I'm going to do is... Okay, I'll use the restlessness to recruit my hanger on. That nullifies another source of dread. If I can, I'm going to try and do a ritual with this poor lunatic, but Nightly pleasures at the Cabaret Club. I have purchased pleasure. I reel home in the ungodly hours and collapse into bed. No, let's track down that rumor. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to pull off all this stuff I wanted to do. Notoriety's coming up, so ceremony requires a searing, but a little one. They will carry the mark all their life. Okay, so hopefully the mystique comes up first. What I'm going to do here, I should have done this earlier, but Clovette's going to go on an overtime charm offensive. It probably won't work, but we will do what we can. Alright. I'm going to need to make some decisions about the... I need to make some decisions about what I use this poor lunatic for. The virgins, maidens of the mirror favor orchids. The hindlings favor the rhododendron. Cut flowers of either nature should not be placed before polished bronze. An appendix contains a rite which might be used to summon some of these entities, although the details of its use are not made clear. The Rite of the Watchman's Sorrow. This rite recalls the loss of the watchman who walks the house which has no walls. Light goes before him and shadow behind him. He must not see you. The instrument of power is used to summon him to take his sacrifice. Precious knowledge from the root of your thoughts. The assistant must speak the words that anchor your sanity, so choose someone you trust. So I believe this one I have to sacrifice lore in order to achieve what I'm looking for. Yes. In this case, we'll do Rite of the Crucible Soul. I'm locked into the poor lunatic. Ah, now I don't have an instrument, I don't believe. No spinitra or anything like that. So that's probably a deal breaker. Let's see what we can do with knock. Significant intensity of Grail and a little moth and knock. Yep, can't do it. So if the poor lunatic was my assistant, though... I don't think any of these have Grail influence. Alright. Well, it was worth a shot. Back to work. We'll translate De Bellis Murorum, and then I really do need to start getting some more books. And streaming-wise... So we should probably take care of the Dread first. So we'll combine it with the Contentment. I'm not sure there's a way I escape this dread, but that's life. At least these will go on their own. I don't think there's a way I can hide this long enough though, so what I'll do instead is I'll take advantage of the Ecdysis Club. Track down rumor. An unpromising address, but a promising resident. Alright, just a hanger-on, but I can live with that. Of course, we're certainly going to get an adversary now, but Clovette will make sure that they don't do anything too nasty. So yeah, Ecdysis, just on the odd chance I'm able to... Well, okay, let's think reasonably about this. So, in 20 seconds... an event is going to come up that gobbles up a dread, and this is going to be the only available dread. If I go to the Ecdysis Club now, in 60 seconds, I will potentially get a contentment. It might gobble it up, but what else can I do exploration-wise? I can do an auction. And Natalia Dragon. She was laughed out of academia for her analyses of alternate histories, and it only made her more resolute now that she works with the Suppression Bureau. She is meticulous, and she is an idealist. An idealist is something we can potentially use against her. But I'd like to be a little stronger. By the way, I have not been reading these advanced lore that I got. So, Menses Glimpse, a snatch of poetry, a single memory of a certain house that all of us visit at least twice in our lives. For one's first visit to the Menses, this lore is almost essential. The Megalesian incantation, the Great Mother remembers, and a forgotten chronicle, a story of a city without a gate, a queen who was not born, a war which was not fought. Exploring with this scrap of knowledge may uncover secret locations on the continent. And the operation of the declining sun. This invokes, acknowledges, and welcomes the passage to silence. So as you can see, Clovette's doing her job with the notoriety, which is good. De Bellis Murorum has now been studied, so we'll read that. The poem elliptically describes a war between beasts, a weather phenomena, and arcane concepts. It's quite specific about their tactics. Thank you very much for the host, Miss Ariella. How are you doing? We're currently reading De Bellis Murorum, an 18th century epic poem by the pseudonymous Solipstos. For those of you who don't know her, Miss Ariella is an old friend from Vancouver. She's also a broadcaster. She's now in Australia, so for those of you who find that my hours don't work so well for your cast, I definitely recommend checking her out, because she'll probably be a bit more consistent than me as far as her timing. One thing that I kind of like to highlight about her, which I think is underappreciated, I happen to know she gets more than a few sort of key offers from people. And Ariella has got this really impressive ability to be able to basically cast all of the things that she gets offered. And I wish I could do that. I just go, I'm so slow. You're not old, yes. You're a long-term viewer, is what I meant. But she really is a sweetheart, and she's somebody who cares enough about the people who will give her a game to cover, that she does her utmost to cover every single one, and does a really good job of it. I really like when she stops by and I'm casting Cultist Simulator, because it's a weird one, and it's one that I like sharing. But again, Miss Ariella, again, I don't have a mod, unfortunately, so... But this Ariella is somebody who I always like watching. I don't get a chance to see her cast as often, but she really is somebody who has been sort of somebody who's been involved with my cast for a very long time, and somebody I'm always happy to see. And especially, there's twofold, because one, obviously I'd like it if more people can, you know, if I am able to get people in touch with casts that they might enjoy, that's a big one for me. But especially, earnest, speechless, affable conversation. No one understands us, or else they understand us too well. So I got a peculiar rumor. I should be able to work that. Let's get Clovette back to work on the Charm Offensive. But yeah, even if it's not somebody who I'm able to normally get the reference in terms of what you know, what she's been playing most recently or somebody like that. I do like sort of hooking people up with casters who I think will do something similar to what they like me for. And in the case of Ariella, I think she's got, again, a really broad palette. So in terms of variety casts, if that's one thing that you enjoy, that's definitely something that carries over. And again, she's an absolute sweetheart, and I really think that sort of stuff matters quite a bit, because it's I always feel the personality comes out through. There's definitely a lot of people who are very different in person than their cast persona, and sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's not a good thing. But Ariella is definitely a very genuine individual, and I feel very happy whenever I visit her stuff. So. Alright, I suspect at the end of this story I may find someone who will hear what I have to say. So the drawback here is I really am stacking up a lot of notoriety against Natalia Dragon, who is a fairly formidable opponent. But in this case, I'm going to try and get Clovette to work overtime on smoothing those troubled waters, and I'm eliminating my bleak thoughts by adding my contentment. Now, I am going to have restlessness, but with restlessness, I'm going to be able to recruit my hanger-on. So let's add another furtive truth just so I can keep adding those locations. Let's see, I have read this one before, so. And we'll jump straight back to the white door. The 2-1 joined, and the horn distinguished, consequently, blood. Chiliarch's lesson. This is the bone-deep story of the 1,000 men learnt in antiquity, of blood and its exits. To speak it aloud is to hear the sword hiss. So that's a level 4 edge. And I guess I'm stuck reading the Sanskrit reader, because I don't have the erudition for my collection of essays. So I think what we'll do here, Clovette will take care of whatever notoriety. Ideally she'll take care of this one, but I think this is the one that's going to get gobbled up. And once Clovette does her thing, I will recruit the hanger-on using this restlessness, although I have less to worry about because I'm going to eliminate this despair with the contentment. Oh hey, she took the longer lasting one. I like her. Have you checked out this game since the last time I streamed it, Ariella? I wasn't sure if this was something you were interested in or not. An unpromising address, but a promising resident. Laidlaw and acquaintance. This is the same Mike Laidlaw who is responsible for Dragon Age, along with other members of the team, of course. Laidlaw is a tinkerer and mechanic with an uncanny knack. You may be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. Krisham 2, so I'm assuming you know what you're doing in this game, because you definitely don't. Yes, I do, Krisham. Now, it is important to remember that I have been playing this game since before the Kickstarter, so that's not always a benefit, because there's some things from the early versions of the games that don't apply anymore. The most important thing that you can learn about Cultist Simulator is to enjoy the process of being lost, because of course it's a game where you play somebody who's investigating sort of this world beyond the apparent. You're picking away at the skin and seeing what's underneath. And the game holds your hand for the first few in terms of the square brackets. And it actually winds up holding your hand when you know, like when you read the text and you sort of realize. So for instance, it tells you how to get the way of the wood when you get your first book that gives you Barber's Warning lore. But the problem is you need to know what to look for. And the real breaking point will be some people don't like that at all. And it has nothing to do with whether or not, you know, it's easy to be condescending and say, oh, you don't get the game. That's definitely not where I'm going with that. But the one thing that I do try to avoid is just to straight up tell people how to answer particular problems. But what I do find is helpful is to sort of identify and give voice to sort of my thought process behind doing certain things. So anyways, Christian, that was a really long introduction. Welcome to the stream. Was there something in particular that you're stuck on, or are you just finding in general that this thing is kind of opaque and not working for you? Or maybe it's working for you and you just still feel very lost. But one way or the other, the lost feeling is definitely intentional. All right, so no one understands us, or else they understand us too well. Still did not deal with my terrible reputation. Well, I think I'm going to bring Laidlaw into the fold. So what I'm doing here, so there's plenty of ways that I can bring Laidlaw into the unflinching order. So this one might be ready to achieve the next level if I can supply something more. And the question here, so if I wanted, you know, I'd just do it the same as everyone else. I apply the Smith's Secret, but of course all that's required is the aspect of Forge. So there's something very suspicious about the fact that this goes so low. But yeah, so with this in mind, if I wanted, I could just throw the ceremony here, but perhaps I want to give up the trappings. For a proper sense of occasion, consumes ingredients and influences, uses but does not consume summonings and tools. So in this case, this is an influence, and it gives me 3 forge. So what I'm able to do is I'm able to neutralize this potential source of dread because I'm not able to paint with it, and I'm also going to get a follower out of it. So in this case, I was able to take sort of a negative thing and spin it towards my advantage. Hello, Mad King Brutos. No, it's not a problem. I hope the doctor's appointments went well. There wasn't Cultist Simulator last week on my channel. I actually wound up doing it on GOG on Thursday. So, and I got a lot of messages saying, despair abates, memories of better times, keep the wolf at the door. But yeah, I got a lot of people saying, where's the stream, where's the stream, where's the stream? So, you've only put an hour or two into it so far. You're not sure how to, you're sure you'll figure out a few things at this point, still not understanding too much. Yeah, I think you're definitely experiencing the intended 2-hour mark. The one thing that I think probably, so I avoid trying to do proper tutorials because the decision not to include a tutorial was a deliberate one. The one thing I usually like to draw people's attention to is that there is information about what the cards are, and it gives you, there are a lot of tools designed to sort of help you out. So for instance, I say, it's like, okay, what can I use in this dream slot? And notice a bunch of cards just highlighted, but it'll also say if it has the aspect ability, funds, way, ill health, or desire, all of these things that are things that can be used in dream. So for instance, you know, this is a way, and it says it wants an ascent. So I can feed it health. There's another thing I can feed it, which is a desire. Well, let's take a look what happens when I do that, shall we? So in this case, my desire is power. I've dedicated myself to the acquisition of immortal power at any cost. Upgrade this card further to make a power victory possible. I must be a true initiate of the menses. I'll need to work with Forge aspect to invoke the Forge of Days and begin the change. Now I feel secure doing this. Like this could potentially be a, you know, here's how to solve the problem, but I'm pretty sure if you've only been 2 hours in, you don't know how to get dedication power. So in this case, to the stag door. The ascent is slow, winds from nowhere pluck at me. My skin is stained with light, the wood shivers with motion far below. So we'll see what happens in 60 seconds when I put this inside here. Demskag, welcome back. But one of the things that's really driven me is like, if I do this infinite, you know, number of combinations, if I just try every combination of cards, then the game is not going to be very fun for me. But if I follow the breadcrumbs in the text, and if I follow sort of the indicators in terms of the game saying you can put this type of card in this thing here, and then finally if I just start following the logic of the game and start saying it's like, well, you know, Lantern always seems to be associated with reason, so is there something related to my reason that might push this forward? The really exciting moments of this game are the ones where you suddenly realize like, oh, I think I get this. This is getting kind of cool. And you start pushing deeper and deeper. I remember the first time that I got a standard victory in like the finished version of the game, and I was feeling very, very excited. So it's definitely one that I encourage you, assuming you're having a good enough time with the 2 hours, it's one that I'd really strongly encourage you to stick with, because there really isn't anything like it. And I think the thing that's great about it is the feeling of being lost is it's worth it because, oh, there was one other thing I was going to test. I'll still do the power, but I was wondering, nope, I have to Wait a minute. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I do have to go. The thing is that the pain of feeling lost is completely offset by the rush of like getting it and the aha moment. And unfortunately, you can't have one without the other. So the ceremony requires a searing, only a little one, but they will carry the mark for the rest of their life. Laidlaw has begun to understand the limitations of ingenuity and the power of sacrifice. So another member for the cause. I think what we're going to do here, we're going to get Clovette to continue working on the notoriety. So not everyone is sympathetic to our aims, but if we have problems with a reputation, our believer might be able to smooth them over. In 8 seconds, I will... I'll be able to use that peculiar rumor. That'll improve my it'll give me another notoriety, but of course I can use Clovette to deal with that. Doctors went well as it could as a type 1 diabetic, but with several other clinical issues. But you did lose 2.2 kilograms in 11 days on your new fitness plan. Okay, that's excellent to hear that the news is... If I was diplomatic, I would say as good as could be expected. But I'm glad to hear that. I think it's not just that it seemed like it was, as you say, you know, as well as it could. But I love that you were able to focus on the good out of that. So I hope that continues. This game is very much a puzzle game. That is to say, the core gameplay experience is using your brain and the game's hints to figure out what to do next, and then banging your head against the wall for hours when you get stuck. Absolutely. And the important thing is that when you fail in the game, it unlocks different elements. So in one sense, you know, the roguelike elements are a lot more about learning rather than giving you like new items to make the game easier. You take knowledge of multiple playthroughs and maybe some perspective that you get. So your first experience of Poppy is almost certainly going to be as the bright young thing. The bright young thing usually happens after you die as the aspirant and you don't have a lot of money. So each of the playthroughs winds up giving you different aspects, and they tend to be things that stop you from having the ending that you got before, which is a really smart decision on their part. But as always, like this game would not be any fun if there weren't moments where you felt that you didn't have what you needed, or you know there was a problem. You somehow weren't able to, you know, to push forward, let's say. But I don't know. I feel like the game. I think the thing I like about it is that it dangles the. It dangles the possibility of that revelation or that experience just out of reach, so you pursue it, but it doesn't pull it so far away that you think it's not worth pursuing. So anyways, we'll continue to track down rumors. The drawback, of course, is that if the season of suspicion comes up, then I am in a bit of trouble. But we do want to make progress, so I'll take that risk. I'm okay for bleak thoughts. I mean, I've been pretty good at managing my restlessness this time around. Alright, the Stag Door. The Stag Door, a ridged barrier of blood-streaked horn, huge enough for a ship to pass. It was broken long ago, and even now the scars are not quite healed. In a declivity beside the door rests a vast and wounded golden head. Its mouth would be large enough to swallow me were its jaw not shattered. It is the name, Girby. It begins to intone its riddle. What must open before the way opens? Answer this riddle to pass the Stag Door and be accounted a no. So I don't have any obvious... Well, hang on. Welcomes the passage to silent. I don't think this is the answer, but I am going to try it just in case. I don't... Usually the answers to the riddle are pretty spot on, though. Yeah. Girby has fallen very far. It may not enter the house, and one of its few satisfactions is to deny entry. It is too much honor to mock me, but I see the satisfaction in his golden eyes. That is not, it says with relish, the answer. Alright, Alright, the words contain knowledge. Now I contain it. It is a little like theft and a little like feasting and a little like the progress of an infectious disease. So we'll do another reason just to get that extra erudition because I'm not buying books, which is a shame on me moment. But we will be able to get the collection of essays taken care of. So I think what I might try to do is use the Idealist against Natalia Dragon, but I do want to get my lantern up before I do that. We've got Saliba. Saliba is a man of prodigious appetites. He is long past the point where satisfaction has given him any pleasure, but he's learned so very much. You might be able to recruit this acquaintance as a follower. All right, let's continue following our furtive truths to other locations, although I should probably be going to the auction house before long. And looks like I gain another peculiar rumor. Clovette's not earning her keep. I might have to stick her in the cupboard. Oh, and I got my extra erudition, so we'll take the collection of essays. Tonight I will dream of a museum. In the display cases of the Impossible Museum, I always see an apple white as snow and as hard as marble, a golden beetle in a stern box, a coy geometry awaiting my touch, a black envelope bursting with string, and a brass opera box for instruments of record and measure, a storm in a tin. I always wake before I see the aisle's end, so that got me some glimmering. That would probably be a good time once the study is done. I'll try and combine some of my my lore. In this case, I'm going to start with Lantern. And the main reason for that is it allows me to go further, but Lantern's also related to moving through the menses. Stagdoor's Riddle, we'll put that up there, and I think we're just going to keep going through the white door, because that can potentially give me Forgotten Chronicles as well. One of the things you like about the game is that you can play for dozens of hours, but there are still small things here and there that you don't know about. Absolutely. That is a really big selling feature for me on this game. Because, like, I mean, I've seen, like, I've gotten a quote-unquote good ending, right? So it's not like I'm, like, so the thing that's driving me is not to see what the end is like. What's driving me is the ability to, I'm gonna get more restlessness. What's really driving me in this is the ability to, I don't know, it's not even like wrestle the game to its knees, but just, it's to get a better understanding of some of these things that I've been looking at in the game. Like, alright, so it's a poetry book. Not, like, I'm not gonna break the bank for it, but a little more than I was. That's 9 reason in the bank now. Yeah, let's combine the Watchman's secrets. There's a proverb among practitioners of the invisible arts. Glory visits the house without walls. I would like to know about glory. Yeah, I think I'm just going to have to accept the restlessness as part of my life. But I do have contentment to deal with it, so. And let's go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight, where I gain some more glimmering. Maybe I'll try studying my glimmering next. Okay. So I've got some dread, but I should have excuse me, contentment to deal with that. Clear my mind. But yeah, I think the, you know, like, it's one thing to beat the game, but it, like, that doesn't mean that you understand everything that's going on. And it's a world that's interesting enough that you kind of want to run through all of it and see what's happening. So, I think in this case I'm just going to keep Clovette. I mean, if nothing else, I'm getting more peculiar rumors, which is helping me recruit people. Okay, got my poetry. Search out that rumor. In the worst case scenario, I just, you know, I use these 2 glimmering for the poetry. I'm pretty lucky that suspicion's not been coming up. Okay, so there's the restlessness. In this case, I'm going to recruit based on that. And I need erudition, so that's not coming up, although the light in the skull may provide it. And dream-wise, I think I'm just gonna go back to the white door. You're curious how many victories there are. You got your first power victory. The wording in the victory text makes you feel like each ending has multiple versions. You're not the first person to tell me that. And I don't know. Because I agree. They actually said how many endings there are in the game in the interview too, but I don't have the firm number. And I also can't, I can get a correspondence with all the achievements in the game except for one. So. And the delightful Neville. Neville pauses before he speaks and flinches easily. He laughs whenever he thinks you've made a joke. Alright. I guess it's time for another trip to Oriflamme's. So here I'm basically just going for, it's a fairly intuitive reason, just to get more books. And this is the true and complete accounting of the Asclepian mysteries and the roots of the house, produced by one Riley Grease from supposedly a much older text in Greek. Ah. I didn't hit the pause button soon enough, so now I have a little bit of a problem. Well, let's not dwell on it. In this case, we'll get Clovette to continue doing her thing. And I think I'm due for a date at the Ecdysis Club before too long. Alright, and that is Greek. Right. It said it was in Greek. Alright, well I definitely don't want the restlessness, so let's go to the Orchard of Lights, and we gained a forgotten chronicle for our trouble. A story of a city without a gate, a queen who was not born, and a war which was not fought. Last night I walked in the Orchard of Lights. I plucked the fruit, which is always ripe, and consumed it in 2 bites. The taste is not to be forgotten. As I licked the glowing juices from my fingers, I saw a message carved in the bark of the tree. When I woke, I recorded the message, all that I could remember in my diary. Okay, let's think a little bit about what I can do with my dream before I go too far. So I have Peculiar Rumor. I'm going to do that because it does keep me in followers. After Charm, that will hopefully deal with the notoriety. Of course, I'll be gaining more notoriety as well. I'll get a restlessness from that, and I'll use that to recruit either Neville or Salbia. And let's just keep going to the menses. Okay, so nothing I can do about my notoriety, unfortunately. I could occupy the investigator. I don't really think that's worth it. Leave this aside. And I've got 2 inspiration, but I don't have erudition, and I don't think that will be available soon, so we'll live with that. Everything's happening at once. Okay, so I could get another furtive truth if I want. Let's go to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Hey, another forgotten. Last night, I visited the Lodge of the Sage Knight. My hostess manifested as an elegant woman with fashionably short hair. Oh, we have read this one, so. Alright, let's think about the next move. Enid's in the club. Exploration. I think the call now is to start getting some people I can hire to either destroy evidence, wipe out investigators, or what? Those are really the two things I want them to do. Dream-wise, I think the answer is always the same, the white door. Because there's also the possibility I get the favor from the authority. But... Alright, so I'm drowning in notoriety. Got another peculiar rumor, which is all well and good. But we will recruit before my despair gets any worse. Oh, you know what? I should have gone to the Ecdysis Club before I did any of that. Oh well. I've increased my mastery of the glorious lore, which we call by its aspect lantern. So even though I only had 2 of the 3 insights, RNG was kind to me. So I did say that trying to draw Dr. Dragon mad was going to be my strategy for dealing with her. Although I do have a book that I can translate. So before I do that, we'll start translating and studying. Acquiring lore to me is the higher priority. So. I believe she's meticulous as well. Yeah, so she's always going to turn that into evidence. A fortune teller, eh? Well, she's not guaranteed to destroy evidence, but she's better than most. If she takes this one, I'm gonna be... Okay, good. Sadly, I won't be able to follow up on the peculiar rumor, but... Alright. Salaba. Salaba understands blood. He does not yet understand birth. Let's think about what I want to employ my people in. I mean, I can go on a big recruitment drive, but I feel like dealing with my notoriety is a slightly higher priority at the moment. Because I'm not going on any expeditions yet. And as long as I have the 1 heart, that will help me. Yeah, so they're definitely going to build the evidence. I don't remember if I still have the notoriety, so if I can get rid of this 1, then I'm in good shape. Ah! Last night I dreamt of the blue silk pavilion overlooking the cloudy labyrinth of the bounds. I listened to the mistress of the place speak of other visitors. The Suppression Bureau comes here. Did you know that? I think they hope to recruit me as an ally, she snorts derisively. After what they did to tried to do Christopher? But their folly is your fortune. I will tell you something that may help you if the Bureau ever troubles you. So I feel less concerned about the investigations. I think I'm still going to keep pounding away at the white door. And we have sickness coming up. I'm not screwed though, so good news. Alright. The true and complete accounting of Asclepian mysteries and the roots of the house. Descriptions of the Asclepian mysteries reproduced by one Riley Grease from supposedly a much older text. It's unlikely to be genuine, but it makes reference to the house without walls and its wood, right there in the prologue. Let's see what's there. This is very obviously not an antique text. At the very least, it has been badly mutilated, but it contains substantial intriguing material, especially a persuasive comparison of the house without walls, without doors to the human body, with its many portals. Let's keep buying. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do with this, so I'm gonna fall into the land of dream. Exploration-wise, let's go to the Ecdysis Club to hopefully get that contentment. And we'll see what happens with our charm offensive. But again, I'm not too worried about having a big stack of notoriety right now, because if she gets damning evidence, well, I just live with that. Like, I've got the favor for about, what is it, 6 minutes, 5 minutes? I've purchased pleasure. I reel home in the ungodly hours to collapse into bed. Okay, exploration-wise, what do I want to do now? I want to send a pawn out to look for new things. I'm certain that my adversary has lodged a copy of their notes elsewhere, with their solicitor, or with their superior, or even with a contact in the press. This is troubling. Oh, let's get that health in there. And, well, the professional muscle is a very easy way of dealing with that. Alright. Well, there's my erudition if I was looking for it. Not really now, but let's see what it says. Last night's stream, I was in the Lodge of the Sage Knight behind the White Door. It is difficult to remember exactly how I came there. And the mistress of the place, a woman with dark glasses, was nodding as if I had asked her a difficult question. Of course I hadn't. I lost my speech when I passed the White Door. "How is it that I can speak?" she said to me. "I didn't come here through the White Door. I'm not proud of what I did to come here. So let me tell you something else." Okay, so no trips through the White Door for me for a while, because I need to get my health back. But there isn't much else for me to do with my dream at the moment either, so let's just get a good rest. Nap to recover from fatigue. Just need a little time to recover my energies. I'm definitely going to hire the professional muscle. I'll break them in half. This hireling may be useful in some expeditions and can help with hunters and annoyances, so if I can't deal with my hunter through other means, I can always kill them. The direction of death is down, the book explains. The Peacock Door has been considered a rent or an abrasion, but in some respects it is more like a mouth, if not a more treasured point of entry. Discussions of the doors include a rite which may conjure creatures through those doors, though key incantations are missing. So we've gained the rite of Map's Edge. The vagabond is the only hour that never enters the menses. This rite must be performed in the right place and the right time, and the vagabond will take that rightness for her own. And we gain the words that walk. The syllables of the formula are compelling. I find myself snapping my fingers to its rhythms, its desires not to cease. Yeah, I will admit that I tended to find I actually found the spider door to be the most inconvenient, and then I found a way through it, so. Alright. So, let's start. We'll start with the simplest task, which is to get rid of the evidence. My minion's talent for deceit is limited. With this difficult task, they will likely fail. So that's a 3 moth. Oh, I've got studying I can do. Okay, that's going to be restlessness that comes up. No reason not to go to the position in the Institute. Study-wise, I got nothing. So let's study passion. And it looks like suspicion's coming up again. And refreshed. Okay. So in this case, I'm just gonna spend to get rid of the affliction. So I want to be careful with the restlessness here. What I'm gonna do I will have the professional muscle. Actually, there's technically a way I can deal with... in 16 seconds, they're going to get gobbled up by the suspicion, so that won't work. So instead, I do what? I go to Oriflammes with my money. I use the restlessness to recruit Neville or Enid. We should have used the peculiar rumor now that I think of it. Oh, something, deep mystery, something. Okay, so the only way I can get more lore now is with expeditions. And fascination's coming up next. Okay, so study. I'm curious. No, there wasn't something else I meant to do with that. My minion has not returned. They have failed, and their blundering may have attracted attention. So more notoriety for me. Always fun. So now, yes, I do need to do my recruitment with restlessness, otherwise bad things happen. So welcome to the club, Enid. This one is ready. I have 2 minutes for the favor from the authority. Now the real drawback here, this would have been helpful, but unfortunately I have no guarantee that I'm going to get something like that again, or at least in the time that I need it. So for exploration, let's just keep, well, okay, let's finish with my furtive truths. And I can always keep going to the white door to hope that maybe I can get another favor. Ceremony requires searing, only a little one, but they will carry the mark all their life. Okay, so no fascination coming up. I'm happy about that. 42 seconds. I'll see. I think I can ride this out without needing to pay them again, but we'll see what happens with the hunter. So 30 seconds. Yes, we'll be okay. But I do want to. It's going to be tight, but I can always rehire them if it comes down to it. Okay, so I've got 2 glimmering. I can use that for my collection of poetry. Not that I really need these insane stats, but they're nice to have. And then I can go back to studying real things. Yes, I want to keep that talk open. We do one... Stop it! Alright. If this ever reaches trial, I will be in serious danger. Even if this hunter is disposed of, another may find their notes. So yeah, I still actually need to get somebody to deal with that. But first things first, let's have a chat. My minion is powerful. This hunter is unlikely to survive, but the attempt will draw attention. Yeah, well, several damning evidence, so... Okay, we got Lockwood Fen, and what I think I'm going to be doing now is I need to find somebody to get rid of the damning evidence. So in this case, I'm going to keep sending my pawn out to look for more hirelings. There's a glimmering. But I can always keep rolling the dice on the white door, so... Actually, I should have read that text because I didn't do that for the glimmering before. My bad. I'm pretty sure I've assured that I won't be using this favor from the authority because I'm obviously tying up Natalia Dragon with the attempt to assassinate her. At some point, I also do need to talk with Poppy, but... Okay, I'll put the money in for the hulking fellow just in case. We should get an answer before I know I'll need him or not. And now the question is, do I want to try upgrading my existing lore, or do I want to try and boost up my traits? I think the lore is the better call here, so we'll combine 2 Mantis glimpses, and I don't have a high expectation for it to work, but I can brute force, well, yeah, basically I can brute force my way through it, because there's literally nothing else for me to do with my study. I mean, I can study reason and passion, and I can get a little bit of a reserve, but I don't really see a need to. Like, I can just keep working at it. Aha! My minion is returned with a prisoner. Okay. Well, that's cool. Because it means that I'm able to... and as a reward, betray and imprison him. Let's go back to the Lodge of the Sage Knight. Okay, this is good. So if it comes down to it, I've got a safety measure. So what I'm doing here is I'm betraying the hired muscle because they were going away in 4 seconds anyway. So I'm able to take advantage of 2 prisoners, and I might be able to use them in a ritual. Maybe not. Maybe it'll just become a liability. It just seemed like a mean thing to do, so I did it. All right. Dreamwise, more white door. I've locked this one away safely. When their screaming and raving subsides, I will subdue them properly. So at some point I'm going to need to figure out what to do with these, but I have some time. It's like 10 minutes worth. In the meantime, let's deal with notoriety first, and then I'll go on another recruitment drive. Oops. I'm probably going to have to call it for the evening. I do appreciate those of you who came in on Octavian's raid and hung out. There's about a third of you still there, so I know this is not... I'm usually not anybody's idea of a good time after a bigger caster is done, so I actually really appreciate it when I get that attention, but I totally get it if it's not your type of thing. But for those of you who did stay and watch, I hope you enjoyed the game. Do speak up if you have any questions or anything like that. But I'm really happy to share this one. We do this every Wednesday, and I hope it was fun for you, because it is a really special game. There's really nothing like it, and it's one of the main reasons why I continue to stream it. Tough call if I want to do Furtive Truth again or if I want to try for something bigger. I think I'll do the Orchard of Lights. Yeah, Forgotten Chronicle. Leroy Jenkins says he finds the Peacock Door difficult because of the cost of... okay, I'm not going to say the rest of that on the odd chance that somebody on YouTube hasn't solved that yet. I haven't personally encountered what you're talking about, Leroy, but I empathize. When I wound up in that situation, I was able to sort of sustain it. And again, it's a different style thing. Like I was pretty resistant to using muscle on Natalia Dragon because I had other means of doing it. But as it turns out, you know, I had a level 5 edge hireling. Like there's really nothing else for me to do in that case, so if I'm quick I should be able to get the stag door back. Okay, well, fortune teller's not gonna... they're not gonna do great things, but it's possible that they might succeed. Course of the Heart is good because that will give me some vitality, which I can offset with this. Still don't want the restlessness. Oh, that's a shame. I might be able to summon something with it, but... Okay, so this could be a danger. That'd certainly be a danger because that notoriety is going to get sucked up. It's less than 3 minutes available to me. Research needs erudition, which I don't have, but I do have 2 levels of it, so it's possible it'll just move up on its own. Okay, let's start thinking a bit about rituals. Kind of have to use knock. Yeah, problem is I don't have instruments. Until I get instruments, this is all useless to me. I probably made a mistake by putting that that follower in the cupboard. So this is a... Oh god, Wakefield. There's someone who always doesn't understand, or who understands too well. This troublemaker may seek evidence of my activities to share with the authorities. Zachary Wakefield, a melancholy but remorseless inspector of police. He has recently been seconded to the Suppression Bureau. He is grim. He is meticulous. He's trouble. Okay. I think that's where I'm going to end it, because I'm a little over time. Oddly enough, there is no notoriety to gobble up now. I'm sure I'll get it when the reputation comes by. I suppose the damning evidence is sufficient anyway. I don't actually think I need the notoriety for that to sink me. Plans for how I'm going to deal with this in the next little while. I'm going to keep hammering away at the white door. It might be that you can get the favors from an authority. It may be that you can get that from the other area, but I've always gotten it at the Sage Knight's Lodge, so I think I'm going to focus on that for the next little while. It's possible the fortune teller will come through. It's unlikely they will. I will continue to send my pawn to explore for another moth aspect. So yeah, it's going to be all hands on deck for dealing with the damning evidence, which will mean I employ anybody with a high moth to deal with the problem. If I get a dread, I'll try and turn Wakefield into a raving lunatic, but no promises. The main focus is going to be on either obtaining a favor from an authority or for erasing the damning evidence. And then what else? I think I either need to start going on expeditions or I need to finish recruiting everyone. In principle, I should also be able to do a summoning, especially with the Right of the Map's Edge. But the problem is that I've been too focused on some of these other things. So the usual loop is just going to be building up that lore. I technically don't need to advance the Lantern lore as much as I used to because there's no way I'm not gonna fascinate Wakefield. But I mean, it couldn't hurt. I'm not really using the study for anything else. But this is fun. I'm having a reasonably good time of it. I feel in general I'm doing a slightly better job. I mean, I paused a lot this time around. but I generally feel like I'm doing a slightly better job of anticipating problems and dealing with them. And part of that, I mean, part of that is just a willingness on my part to go a little bit slower so that we can get some more progress, because it's occurred to me I haven't actually done a win on stream yet. And it'd be kind of nice to show everybody that, but... In the meantime, I am going to say good night. Thank you everybody for watching. I will take a second here and give some thank yous for people who are hosting me. We have got Nubisaur42, Malicide, Unknown Brigade, Freighter 5, Octavian 0, Mingo Duck, Miss Ariella, Kaylee Cakes, Yorkshire Bastard, Prodsy Smock, Maka Angzir, Custom Games, Mr. Franz, and Inferno Fowler. So thank you to all of you for hosting, and especially for those of you who have me on the auto host. It's worth mentioning that my mod doesn't have me on my auto host, and my mod hasn't been around for a while, so I don't know if they still want to do that. But it does mean a lot that you guys have done that, because I'll probably stick around and do this until it becomes too much of a drag. But it does mean a lot when people do things like draw their audience towards me, tell their friends. All these sorts of things really do help me build out the cast, and it shows more people interest in games like Cultist Simulator. So it's one of these things, it's nice to have people watching, but it's even better to be able to share interesting games with them, of which Cultist Simulator is by far the most interesting that I found. So thank you everybody, and we will see you on Friday probably. It will very likely be a shorter cast of Assassin's Creed. It'll also probably be earlier, but more details will be on Twitter as always. And as for the rest, Kilgore Trout is playing Unreal 2 The Awakening on his personal channel. It'll be one of the few times that I host him with numbers that are comparable to what he gets. He's a partnered caster. He's actually somebody who got partnership with the new rules, which are quite a bit stricter. So he's done a great job. He plays a lot of classic games, and it's fun to watch him play Unreal 2. I never got to experience it. I only played like one level of Unreal, but he feels that Unreal 2 is an underappreciated game, and I like underappreciated games, and I like Kilgore quite a bit. So I'd love it if you guys can come along. Our raid messages were tired of System Talk, heard this place was better. Kilgore knows me reasonably well, so do feel free to drop that in there. And yeah, we'll see you all at the end of the week. I hope you guys have a good intervening couple of days.